Chapter 7:13. 3 days later, they set off. Ling Wushang's attitude changed again. He invited Lu Li to go with him in person. Ling Wushang was guarded by a middle-aged man, Ling Wushuang of the Ling family. He was one of the patriarchs of the Ling family. But since he was sent to protect Ling Wushang, he must be a patriarch, not a disciple of the immediate family. There was another patriarch of the Earth Immortal Realm named Ling Tianba. He was responsible for protecting Ling Wuxin, Ling Wumi, and Ling Buji. They didn't take teleportation formations. Instead, they took 2 chariots and flew toward the north. Lu Li was bored. He asked with curiosity, "Young Master Wushang, is the forbidden ground of Elder God at the north of the city?" "The entrance is hundreds of thousands of miles to the north of the city. We will be there in 2 hours. Ling Wushang was still wearing a white robe. His lips were red and his teeth were white. He was handsome. He took a sip of wine and said, "There are many entrances to the forbidden ground of Elder God. Our forefathers once opened up one. The other dynasties have entrances. Well, all the major universes nearby have entrances. You can go in." "All of them?" Lu Li was surprised and curious. He had never been familiar with the Central Imperial Universe and the nearby universes. Why did Ling Wushang seem to be in a good mood? Naturally, Lu Li had to get some information. He asked with curiosity, "Young Master Wushang, what are the major universes nearby? Who are the people from the realms that entered?" "There are 4 of them." Ling Wushang was willing to share his knowledge with Lu Li to show his erudition. He said slowly, "Central Imperial Universe, Earth Imperial Universe, Divine Imperial Universe, and Mage Imperial Universe. These are the 4 largest ones. There are 5 relatively smaller ones: the Universe of Solitude, Universe of Silence, Universe of Hippocampus, Neverland Universe, and Underworld Universe. Apart from these 5, the rest are small ones. They are not worth mentioning." Lu Li committed the information to memory. The unknown ones Ling Wushang mentioned must be larger than the Heaven Reverse Universe. Thinking of the Heaven Reverse Universe, Lu Li asked in a hurry, "Young Master Wushang, who is that statue at the plaza of the city of Ling? Is it a powerful warrior from the Ling family?" "Statue? You don't know?" Ling Wushang was speechless. He said, "That is Emperor of Heaven Reverse, one of the 5 wonders of the Central Imperial Universe and one of the mighty warriors in the divinity. He is the most powerful warrior from the Central Imperial Universe that has gone to the divinity. He has a strong force in the divinity. Many cities of the Central Imperial Universe have statues of him." "Emperor of Heaven Reverse, one of the 5 wonders of the Central Imperial Universe," Lu Li murmured. He was astounded. Emperor of Heaven Reverse was from the Central Imperial Universe. Lu Li's previous speculation was correct. Emperor of Heaven Reverse went to the Heaven Reverse Universe and brought the language, cultivation methods, and customs of the Central Imperial Universe to the Heaven Reverse Universe. He went to the immortal world. What an amazing person! Lu Li murmured again to cover up his shock. He was afraid that Ling Wushang, the Earth Immortal Realm warrior next to him, would see through his emotions. Lu Li asked casually, "Does the divinity really exist? Is Emperor of Heaven Reverse still alive?" "Nature exists." There was a glint of yearning in Ling Wushang's eyes as he said, "In the history of the Central Imperial Universe, dozens became immortals, and so did many from other universes. At the moment, those people were calling the wind and summoning the rain in the God world. Occasionally, they would unleash powerful divine abilities and send down divine decrees. Brother Lu, we all have to work hard. If there comes a day when we can step into the divine realm and follow the ancestor gods to conquer the divine realm, then we wouldn't have lived in vain." Yes. Lu Li was also filled with longing. Ascending to the divinity, looking for the ancestor gods, and following them to conquer the divinity. The thought of it was enough to make one's blood boil with excitement. Forbidden ground of Elder God? Lu Li remembered his destination. He asked, "Is the forbidden ground of Elder God the burial ground of an ancient god? But don't all the gods go to the divinity?" "Yes, it is. Brother Lu, you are smart." Ling Wushang gave Lu Li a thumbs up and exclaimed, "He was also an amazing warrior, one of our most respected ancestor gods. He did go to the divinity. He came back from the divinity, but he passed away as soon as he came back. He refined his divine body and fused it with the forbidden land, causing it to produce many wondrous heavenly rhythm Tao marks. At the same time, he hid the treasures, secret arts, divine skills, and divine weapons he obtained from the god world in the forbidden land, so that the geniuses of the various world surfaces could search for them. In other words, he provided talented disciples of other universes with a land of treasures to cultivate generations of powerful warriors. Therefore, he was respected by us. He was a benevolent man that truly cared for the world. We called him Emperor Heng. According to our speculation, Ling Wushang put on a solemn expression. Powerful warriors from the divinity cannot come back. Otherwise, Emperor of Heaven Reverse would have come back a long time ago. Some emperors have descendants, and they must have come back to visit. Emperor Heng passed away as soon as he came back. This means that he was willing to give up his long life and use a powerful skill to come back for the rise of the human race in our universe. He was an amiable and respectable ancestor god. He is worthy of our respect and remembrance." Well, Lu Li nodded. If what Ling Wushang said was true, then Emperor Heng was indeed an amazing man. To benefit the descendants of other universes, Emperor Heng gave up his life and came back to create the forbidden ground of Elder God. He was benevolent, righteous, and truly universal. Ling Wushang picked up his goblet and said, "Come, Brother Lu, let's toast to Emperor Heng." "Okay." Lu Li picked up his goblet and gulped it down. He deserved a toast to such an amazing man and such a miraculous event. After he finished, Lu Li asked another question. "Does the forbidden ground of Elder God open every few years? Is it dangerous?" "Yes." Ling Wushang didn't intend to hide anything. Because of the rising dragon's skill, he wished he could pour his heart out to Lu Li and tell him everything he knew. "The forbidden ground of Elder God is opened every 3 years. I didn't spend time with you recently. I was preparing to go in. As for the danger, there will be. Of course, this time, Uncle Wushuang and Uncle Tianbao will be with us. Brother Lu, you will be fine as long as you stay with us. The forbidden ground of Elder God has existed for hundreds of thousands of years. Our family has learned many places. As long as there are no special circumstances, there will be no fatal danger." Good. I don't want to die." Lu Li's cowardice made Ling Wushang despise him. The middle-aged Earth Immortal Realm warrior, Ling Wushuang, who had been sitting next to him with his eyes closed, twitched his mouth as if he was expressing his disdain for Lu Li in a silent way. "Right." Ling Wushang remembered something and said, "Brother Lu, try to keep a low profile in there. Don't get into conflict with warriors from other universes. We are not afraid of them and there will be big fights in there. But this time, I am going in to study profound meanings. I need to improve my abilities and gain recognition from my family. So, it is better to avoid conflicts if possible." I know. I don't want to court death with my abilities." Lu Li grinned. He had an idea. Could he kill Ling Wushang with a borrowed knife? What if he killed Ling Wushang with the help of the warriors from other universes? Young Master Haochuan? Chapter 714. 2 hours later, they arrived at a huge mountain which was surrounded by black fog. Looking from afar, they could tell that the mountain was dangerous and evil. They could not go any closer. Lu Li used psychic power to check and noticed that there were scouts nearby. Ling Wushang explained with a smile, This mountain is a forbidden area. There are more than a dozen inhibition formations in here, and some forefathers are guarding it. Nobody but my family can go in. When the chariots were close to the mountain, several strong psychic powers reached out. They retracted their psychic powers after making sure that it was Ling Wushang and the others. A path was opened up in the thick fog. The two chariots flew in one after the other. Nothing stood in their way. They arrived at the central area of the mountain prefecture where there were several black castles. The chariots stopped outside one of the castles. "Let's go, Brother Lu." Ling Wushang stood up and walked out with Lu Li. They jumped off the chariot and Ling Wushuang, the patriarch of the Ling family, followed them. On the other chariot, Ling Wuxin, Ling Wumi, Ling Buji and another patriarch of the Earth Immortal Realm, Ling Tianba, came out as well. "Greetings, Lady Wuxin." Lu Li looked at Ling Wuxin like a pig and then greeted Ling Wumi and Ling Buji. Ling Wuxin replied indifferently while Ling Wumi smiled sweetly, looking innocent and romantic. They walked into the castle and into a side chamber. Lu Li saw a huge teleportation portal guarded by two Earth Immortal Realm warriors. "Greetings, forefathers." Ling Wushang and the other patriarchs, including Ling Wushuang and Ling Tianba, bowed. Lu Li followed suit. One of the two old patriarchs opened his eyes and nodded. He looked at Ling Wushang with appreciation and shot a ray of black light into the teleportation portal. He said, "Go in and cultivate." "Thank you, forefather." Ling Wushang and the others bowed again. They walked into the teleportation portal with Lu Li behind them. The two forefathers didn't look at him. The Ling family must have notified them. After a white glare, the world began to spin. Lu Li didn't know how long he had been teleported before he fell to the ground. He put his hands on the ground, shook his dizzy head and looked around. Ling Wushang and the others were standing next to him. Ling Wuxin and Ling Buji were scornful. Ling Wushang looked at Lu Li with concern and asked, "Brother Lu, are you all right?" Lu Li stood up in embarrassment. He patted the dust off his clothes and said, "I am at a low realm. Please forgive me." With that, Lu Li looked around curiously. He found himself in a forest that was shrouded in mist. Visibility was limited to a few hundred feet. When Lu Li tried to use psychic power to penetrate the mist, he realized that he could not use psychic power at all. Looking at Ling Wushang in surprise, Lu Li asked, "I can't use psychic power here?" And Ling Wushang looked at the sky and said, "There are powerful inhibition formations in the entire Forbidden Land. We can't use psychic power here, and we can't fly too high. If we go over 3,000 feet, we'll pass out and fall down. Let's go." Ling Wuxin seemed to be more and more unhappy with Lu Li. She walked on coldly. Ling Wushang smiled embarrassedly and explained in a low voice, "Sister Wuxin is a bit cold. Please don't mind her, Brother Lu. I like this kind of personality, an iceberg goddess." Lu Li didn't mind at all. His eyes were filled with love. Ling Wushang and the others were speechless. They moved on quickly. They didn't take out any flying artifacts. They just walked on foot. After a while, Lu Li realized that he was surrounded by maple trees. Red maple leaves were everywhere. The scenery was the same. Lu Li asked, "Young Master Wushang, where are we going now?" "Brother Lu, we are going to the Heng River." Before Ling Wushang could answer, Ling Wumi explained with a sweet smile, "The forbidden ground of Elder God is surrounded by maple trees. We have no sense of direction. We have to keep moving forward. Only when we find the Heng River can we know where to go." "Oh, I see." Lu Li looked around, curious. Why was there a maple forest here? Was Emperor Heng a fan of maple trees? However, red maple leaves were everywhere, which was quite nice. Everywhere was shrouded in mist. What they could see was the same maple forest. It was boring to walk like this. Fortunately, there were two beauties with them. "Why don't we fly at a low altitude? It will be faster." Lu Li and Ling Wumi chatted since they were bored. Lingwumi seemed to be happy to chat with Luli. She said with a smile, "It's better not to fly in the forbidden ground of Elder God. Don't go too fast. Those maple trees are strange. If you bump into them, you might trigger some strange inhibition formation and be teleported away." "I see." Luli understood. He praised, "Lady Wumi, you know so much. That is so impressive. Right, are you here to learn profound meanings and try to reach the human sovereign realm?" "Yes," Lingwumi answered frankly. "There are marks of profound meanings in many places here. They were left by Emperor Heng. If you are lucky, you can learn some profound meanings here. I am here to reach the human sovereign realm. Sister Wuxin and Brother Wushang have learned some powerful profound meanings here." Marks of profound meanings. Luli committed them to memory. He opened his eyes wide and looked around. Who would complain about having too many profound meanings? When low-level profound meanings were integrated, they could evolve into powerful ones. The more powerful the profound meaning, the more powerful the profound meaning would be. "Ha ha!" Lingwumi stuck her tongue out and said, "Brother Lu, there are no marks of profound meanings in the maple forest." Over the course of history, many have come here but none of them learned any profound meanings. Don't waste your time. Later, we will go down along the Heng River, and we will arrive at a treasured land. There are many marks of profound meanings there. You can study them. Okay. Luli nodded. After reaching the Noble Lord realm, cultivation focused more on profound meanings. Without learning a powerful profound meaning, there was no hope for a warrior to reach the human sovereign realm. A noble lord was just a lord of an area, but a human sovereign realm warrior was the king of humans. There was a huge gap between a noble lord and a human sovereign realm warrior. Usually, people could not cross it. Once they did, they would be in a different world. Chirp, chirp, after the time for 3 incense sticks to burn, they heard a strange noise. Ling Wuxin, who was at the front, stopped and sat on the thick maple leaf. Ling Wushang and the others did the same. Luli stood there, stunned. Lingwumi grabbed him and said, "Brother Lu, this is the feather wind unique to the forbidden area. There are strange noises in the feather wind that carry soul attacks. You may feel uncomfortable later. You must find a way to stand it. Do not bump into the maple trees nearby, or we will have to knock you out." Feather wind? Luli frowned. His soul was not strong. A group of human sovereign realm warriors and 2 earth immortal realm warriors were so nervous. Would he roll on the ground in pain? He sat with his legs crossed and waited nervously. Not long afterward, a gust of wind came. The wind was actually tangible and looked like transparent feathers fluttering in the air. Strange sounds rang out, drilling straight into people's hearts and resounding in their souls. "Ah, hiss!" Lingwumi groaned. Her pretty face was in pain. Ling Wushang and Ling Wuxin were frowning as well. Clearly, they were in great pain. Buzzing, Lu Li's soul glared. The silver dragon began to move around in his soul pond. Apart from some pain in his eardrums, his soul did not suffer any attack. What? Luli didn't roll on the ground in pain as expected. The 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors were the first to notice him. Then, Ling Wushang and the others opened their eyes and looked over. They were surprised. They had treasures to protect their souls. However, the feather wind could penetrate those treasures and directly attack their souls. Not even Earth Immortal Realm warriors could stand it. How come Luli was fine? P.S. I strongly recommend a very, very good book, I Am a Superstar by Chang Yu. The old freak has been following this book for a long time. It is about the rebirth of a superstar. It is very interesting. Chapter 7:15. The feather wind was getting stronger. Everyone closed their eyes and gritted their teeth to fight against the pain in their souls. Luli, on the other hand, was sitting with his legs crossed as if nothing had happened. Luli was surprised to see that the Earth Immortal Realm warriors' faces were trembling. How strong must the soul attack of the Feather Wind be? Ling Wushang, Ling Wuxin, and Ling Buji were in better condition. Ling Wumi was in more pain. Cold sweat was running down her forehead. She was clenching her dress so hard that her veins were popping out. So, my silver dragon mark has a strong soul protection, much stronger than the average soul protection treasures. Luli was delighted. Previously, not even the great patriarch of the Lu family could sense his soul. Luli already knew that the silver dragon mark was strong, but he didn't expect it to be this strong. After the time for one incense stick to burn, the feather wind finally stopped. The two Earth Immortal Realm warriors were the first to open their eyes and look at Luli in surprise. Phew, Ling Wushang and the others opened their eyes one by one. When Ling Wumi opened her eyes, Ling Wushang asked, "Brother Lu, do you have a powerful soul protection treasure? Or some secret skill? Why doesn't the feather wind work on you?" The others were curious. Luli had already thought about this. He grinned and said, "My master once taught me a secret skill that can protect my soul." Ha ha. Everyone's eyes glowed. The two Earth Immortal Realm warriors seemed to have the urge to kill Luli, but they hid it well. Ling Wushang also had the urge to kill Luli. He wanted to take Luli down and interrogate him about the skill. However, Lung Tianhen's order made him give up the idea. He could not use force on Luli. Otherwise, the warriors from the purgatory of primordial chaos would have an excuse to attack him. The fact that Luli had a soul protection skill was another proof that he was the apprentice of the Blood Emperor. The Blood Emperor really is a miracle, Ling Wushang exclaimed. The smile on his face grew wider. Ling Wuxin was surprised. She looked at Luli with gentleness. Ling Wumi, on the other hand, looked at Luli with admiration and admiration. With the two skills, they were certain that Luli was the Blood Emperor. It was impossible for a warrior of Luli's level to create such a strange skill. They had never heard of the Rising Dragon skill, so they assumed it was created by the Blood Emperor. After all, he was famous for creating strange skills. Psychic power could not be used here, so Luli told a random lie. He enjoyed the change in attitude. The more Ling Wushang trusted him, the easier it would be for him to act. They moved on. Ling Wumi's attitude was better than before. Ling Wumi might be naive and romantic, but she was from a big family. How could she be so simple? If she could get the two skills from Luli, her status in the family would be higher. She would get more resources and she would have more autonomy in her life. Ling Wuxin had been acting like an ice goddess. She walked in the front while Ling Wushang walked with Luli and Ling Wumi. They chatted along the way and told Luli many things about the forbidden ground of Elder God. After traveling for 6 hours, they finally arrived at a huge river. During those 6 hours, Lanli learned many secrets about the forbidden ground of Elder God from Ling Wushang. The forbidden ground of Ancient God was huge. There were maple woods everywhere. In the maple woods, there was no sense of direction. Only the Hung River could tell which way to go. There were many secret areas in the forbidden ground of Elder God. In those secret areas, there were traces of nature's rhythms and Taoist marks. The forbidden ground of Elder God had existed for many years. Families had figured out most of the secret areas. Everyone walked down the river in order to reach a unique mystic realm. The Xian Qi in heaven and earth was rich, and there were many traces of nature's rhythms and Taoist mark. It was a great place for cultivation. There are no maple trees here. Why don't we fly along the river? Luli asked, seeing that they were still walking on foot. Ling Wushang pointed to the river and said, "There is an invisible inhibition formation on the river that will attract feather wind. Once we fly onto the river, we will fall into the Hung River." Ling Wumi added, "Brother Lu, there are some strange creatures in the Hung River. Even quasi-relics may not be safe. So, do not fall into the Hung River." The water of the Hung River was dark yellow. Psychic power could not be used. Luli had no idea what kind of underwater creatures were hiding in the river. He opened his eyes wide and looked into the Hung River. He could faintly see some tiny fish-like creatures swimming in the river. "This place is full of danger," Luli exclaimed. He made a mental note that the Hung River could be used as another weapon. He even had the urge to push Ling Wushang into the Hung River. Of course, that was unrealistic. Ling Wushang was equipped with quasi-relic. Even if he succeeded, he would be smashed to death by Ling Wushang and Ling Tianba. Moving on, Luli kept an eye on the surroundings. He was not powerful enough. If he wanted to kill Ling Wushang, he must rely on external forces. He must take advantage of all favorable conditions. After a whole day of walking, they stopped and decided to pitch a tent to rest. Ling Wumi and Ling Wuxin busied themselves. Luli shamelessly went to help, seizing the chance to get closer to Ling Wuxin and Ling Wumi. Ling Wuxin was still polite on the outside but cold on the inside. Ling Wumi, on the other hand, was more clingy. Her eyes were filled with affection, like a vixen in heat. Every time she glanced at Luli, it was alluring. "Don't have any thoughts about Wumi or else, Ling Wuxin found a chance to be alone with Luli. She warned him secretly. It was fine even if Ling Wushang and Ling Tianba heard her words. Luli understood something from Ling Wuxin's eyes. Ling Wuxin was warning him, "Don't be fooled by Ling Wumi." Ling Wuxin knew her cousin too well. The girl might seem innocent but she was a vixen. She had toyed with many young masters of the Ling dynasty. Ling Wuxin was afraid that Luli would be bewitched by her and ruin the plan. Luli was not a novice in love. He had met too many social butterflies. Madame Yen tried to seduce him several times but he resisted. He had a strong resistance to the temptation of women. "Ha ha, I only admire you, Lady Wuxin." Luli stared at Ling Wuxin lustfully. Coincidentally, he glanced at her fair neckline. A glint of coldness rose in Ling Wuxin's eyes. Luli turned his head away in fear. Ling Wuxin threw a glance to Ling Tianba, who was looking over. She snorted and said, "Young Master Lu, if you want to pursue me, you will have to reach the human sovereign realm first. You are not qualified yet." "Okay." Luli sensed Ling Tianba's stare. He said confidently, "I am born to be lazy. I will take the risk for you, Lady Wuxin. It is just the human sovereign realm, right? Give me a year and I will make it." Ha ha. Chapter 7:16. After half a day of rest, they moved on. This time, they had been on the move for an entire day. Finally, they arrived at their destination. Their destination was an island in the middle of a river. Here, another river joined the Hung River. A small island was formed at the intersection of the two rivers. "Brother Lu." Ling Wushang pointed to the island in the middle of the river and said, "Inside the island is a secret area. I don't know if it is natural or man-made. The Xian Qi in heaven and earth on the island is tens of thousands of times thicker than outside. Also, there are marks of Xian Qi in many places. It is the best place for cultivation." The island was covered with trees. Different from the maple forest here, there were all kinds of trees. Some fruits and flowers could be seen in the distance. Luli looked at the wide river and asked, "Do we take a boat?" "No." Ling Wushang shook his head and said, "You cannot fly or take a boat to reach the island in the middle of the river. That is why few people go to the island. If you take a boat, it will be destroyed by the strange creatures in the river in an instant, no matter what the boat is made of." "Then how do we get there?" Luli was curious. Ling Wushang smiled mysteriously but didn't explain. He turned to Ling Wushuang and said, "Uncle Wushuang, thank you." Ling Wushuang nodded. He walked to the riverside and waved his hands. As he waved, Xian Qi in heaven and earth gathered around him. Luli watched closely. This was a rare chance for an Earth Immortal Realm warrior to release profound meaning. Ling Wushuang was an average-looking man. As he released his qi and energy, mountains and rivers spread out, making people feel suffocated. It was as if he was not a man, but a huge mountain. His profound qi and energy were suffocating. Splash, splash, something miraculous happened. The river was at least thousands of feet long. The water in the river began to tumble, creating huge waves. The water was flowing upstream. The river was flowing upstream. Brother Lu, let's go. Ling Wushang waved his hand and rushed to the riverbed first. Ling Wuxin and the others followed him. Lu Li used Xian energy to keep up. Whoosh, they covered the distance of thousands of feet in an instant. Ling Tianba and Ling Wushuang followed them. The river was still flowing upstream. The surging waves surged forward with astonishing power. When everyone rushed to the island, Ling Wushuang shot out a stream of Xian energy. The Xian qi of heaven and earth on the river disappeared, and the surging river water flowed down in torrents. As soon as he was on the island, Lu Li suddenly felt the air was fresher. He closed his eyes and tried to sense it. He used his cultivation method to absorb Xian energy and found that the Xian energy in his spirit sea was gushing out like spring water. What a magical place! Lu Li opened his eyes in amazement. The Xian qi in heaven and earth here was at least 10,000 times richer than outside and 100,000 times richer than at the Central Plains. This was indeed a wonderful place for cultivation. Oh my God, Lu Li thought that if a group of children were left here to cultivate, it would take them half a month at most to cultivate from the Xian Wu realm to the peak of the Soul Pond realm. With such rich Xian qi of heaven and earth, it would be great to nurture young descendants. No wonder Ling Wushang and Ling Wuxin have become human sovereign realm cultivators at such a young age. In the Central Imperial Universe, human sovereign realm warriors were as common as dogs. There were so many lands of treasures here and so many treasures. With each passing generation, the more talented they were, the more geniuses there would be. It was not uncommon for someone to break through to the Renhuang Plain in their teens. Brother Lu, Ling Wushang said, let's go and pitch our tents. The island is safe. You can wander around the island as long as you don't go into the river. There are marks of Xian qi and nature's rhythms in many places. It will be up to your luck if you can learn something. Also, don't eat the fruits on the island. I am afraid that something might go wrong. They walked into the island and pitched their tents in an open space. Everyone had their own tent. Ling Wushang took out some food, water and wine and put them outside for them to use. Brother Lu, let's have some food. Later, we will split up to look for opportunities. Seize the chance. Ling Wushang handed Lu Li a piece of dried meat and a goblet of wine. He winked at Ling Wuxin. Clearly, he wanted Lu Li to seize the chance to pursue Ling Wuxin. Lu Li grinned and gave Ling Wushang a look that all men understood. He picked up his goblet and enjoyed it. They were sitting in a forest. Below them was a lush grassland. A gentle breeze was blowing and the leaves were rustling. Wild flowers were releasing fragrance. In the distance, Ling Wuxin and Ling Wumi were busy tidying up their tent. It was a pleasant place to cultivate. Rustle, 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 another gentle breeze came, but this time it was different. From the distance came a strange noise. It was feather wind coming from the distance. Ling Wuxin and Ling Wumi stopped tidying up at once and sat down with their legs crossed. This was the disadvantage of the forbidden ground of Elder God. Nobody could tell when feather wind would come. Once they encountered feather wind, they had to stop cultivating. Sometimes they would be interrupted when they were in the midst of enlightenment. Lu Li seemed to be at ease. Feather wind did not affect him. At most, his eardrums would sting. His ability to endure pain was so strong that he didn't feel any pressure. He picked up his goblet and continued to enjoy the wine. He glanced over Ling Wuxin and Ling Wushang, thinking about how to do it. It was difficult to kill Ling Wushang, but it was even more difficult to capture Ling Wuxin. Given his current abilities, it was impossible. Ling Wushang was right in front of him. He might be able to kill him with the soul-shattering skill. But what if he couldn't? Quasi-Relic was not an average piece of armor. How could he run after killing Ling Wushang? 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors were right next to him. How far could he go even if he could take advantage of the feather wind? Never mind. I will cultivate for a while. I have 1 year to go. I will find a way. Lu Li squinted. He gazed at the leaves in the distance that were being blown by the wind. Gusts of feather wind were like transparent feathers, passing through the leaves and into the distance. What? Looking at the swaying branches and swaying leaves, Lu Li's heart skipped a beat. It was as if a stone had been thrown into a calm lake, causing ripples. Somehow, he was touched. It was as if the leaves were not swaying normally. The branches were swaying in a strange pattern. Vaguely, Lu Li felt there was something strange in the leaves, but he could not tell what it was exactly. Nature's rhythm and marks of Tao. Lu Li's heart skipped a beat. This was indeed a land of treasures. He could feel nature's rhythm and marks of Tao anywhere. It was rare to be touched. Every time he was touched, he would learn a profound meaning. Any profound meaning, no matter what level, was a profound meaning, a law of nature. There was no need to fear having too many profounds. This was because low-level profounds could be fused and advanced. At the moment, Lu Li put his mind to other things and focused on the leaves and branches. When the feather wind was gone and the leaves stopped swaying, Lu Li closed his eyes and sat down with his legs crossed to cultivate. Phew, phew, Ling Wushang exhaled. It was not a good feeling to be attacked by the feather wind on the soul. He rubbed his temples and looked at Lu Li. But Lu Li saw that Ling Wushang was already in a meditative state. He must have shut off his senses and was in a deep state of cultivation. Ling Wuxin and Ling Wumi noticed Lu Li's condition. They looked at each other in surprise. There were many nature's rhythm and marks of Tao on the island. But it was not like Lu Li could learn something so easily. Chapter 7:17. The more they thought about it, the more they admired Lu Li. The Blood Emperor would not accept an idiot. Lu Li had an epiphany as soon as he entered the island. From this, they could tell that he was as talented as the others. Good heavens! Ling Wushang exclaimed to himself. He turned to Ling Wuxin. If Lu Li could reach the human sovereign realm in a year, he could convince Ling Tianhen to force Ling Wuxin to marry Lu Li so that he could win over a talent. Ling Wumi's eyes were sparkling. She was young but had the charm of a mature woman. She was indeed a vixen. She looked at Lu Li, wondering if she should increase the power of her charm and make Lu Li surrender to her. She was not as honorable as Ling Wuxin. That being said, if she could win Lu Li over, her status in the family would be elevated. Let's go back to cultivation. Lu Li had started to meditate. Ling Wushang would not disturb him. He waved his hand and walked to the river in the distance. Last time, he learned a profound meaning there. He wanted to go back and improve it to see if he could advance to the next level. Ling Buji left by himself. Ling Tianba and Ling Wushuang split up. One sat in the camp and the other went with Ling Wushang. The island was safe, but Ling Wushang's identity was too honorable. Nothing could happen to him. Ling Wuxin and Ling Wumi sorted out their things, and then went to look for marks of nature's rhythms and nature's rhythms to study and cultivate Xian energy at the same time. The Xian energy in Lu Li's body began to operate automatically. He began to cultivate Xian energy while he tried to figure out the rhythm he had just learned. He didn't know what profound meaning it was. He just wanted to figure it out and see if he could learn something. The forbidden ground of Elder God was large with many secret areas. The island had been discovered, but the Hing River was dangerous. Usually, people would choose to stay away from it. They cultivated in peace for a month. Nobody dared to come close. Everyone was cultivating. Even when someone woke up, they would just go back to their tents and have some food. Then, they would find another place to cultivate. The forbidden ground of Elder God would be opened once every 3 years. Each time they entered, they could only stay for a year. Time was precious. No one would take the initiative to cause trouble unless they were fighting over a mystic realm. The island was well hidden. Most people didn't know that it was a secret realm. Therefore, Luli and the others could cultivate in peace. Luli stayed in closed-door cultivation for a month. He only took some pellets to replenish his strength. Over the past month, his profound energy cultivation had been extremely fast. His origin jewel had absorbed countless profound energy and had completely solidified. Even if it received a heavy blow, it would not crack. Over the past month, Luli had made some progress in his understanding of profound meanings. He had almost mastered a wind-related profound meaning, but he was not sure what it was. He could only be sure that it was wind-related. There was a general direction, and he was currently deducing in that direction. 1 month. Luli was excited that he hadn't even mastered this profound meaning yet. Needless to say, this profound meaning was very powerful. It was definitely not a low-level profound meaning. Otherwise, he would have learned it long ago. Luli continued to cultivate his Xian energy. At the same time, he consumed some elixirs that could nourish the soul. He had a lot of such herbs in his interspatial ring. Ling Wuxin had given him some, and he had some for himself. Soul-nourishing elixirs were easy to refine. After refining, a mass of energy would flow out of the soul pond and be slowly absorbed by the soul pond to nourish the soul. Xian energy, soul, and profound meaning. These were the 3 basic cultivation foundations for a warrior. A warrior that was too weak in any aspect could not become a powerful one. Originally, Luli had to refine his body at the same time. However, his body was strong enough now. He needed to learn profound meanings, so he didn't have time to refine his body. Luli cultivated for a month, which made Ling Tianba look at him in a different light again. The longer a warrior spent on a profound meaning, the more powerful it would be. Had Luli learned a 7th or 8th rank profound meaning directly, Ling Wuxiang went out for a month and didn't come back even once. Ling Wuxin didn't gain much and neither did Ling Wumi. Ling Buji was doing well. He seemed to have learned a good profound meaning, and he had been cultivating it. Another 6 days passed and Luli still hadn't come out. Ling Tianba, who was guarding in the camp, suddenly opened his eyes. He listened for a while. A glint of coldness rose from his eyes. He dashed out in a flash and dashed out of the island. No! Ling Tianba's shout woke up Luli, Ling Wuxiang, and Ling Wuxin. Young Master Shang, come over now. We cannot stay on this island. We must leave now. Whoosh, 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 everyone flew over. Without any hesitation, Luli rushed to Ling Tianba's side and looked at the Heng River from where Ling Tianba was. There was nothing wrong with the Heng River, but the water seemed to be muddy. Ling Tianba didn't explain to the others. He said to Ling Wuxuang, "Wuxuang, hurry up." Ling Wuxuang released profound meaning of water at once to make the river flow in reverse. The river dried up and they rushed to the other side of the river. Boom! Not long after they reached the other side, they heard a loud noise from the distance. Following that, waves rolled over from upstream. The waves were more than 100 feet high, as if thousands of horses were galloping. The waves were so intimidating that anyone on the island would be drowned by the waves. Step back! Ling Tianba waved his hand. They stepped back for hundreds of feet. The waves had passed by and the entire island was submerged. There was not just one wave but many. Each wave was more turbulent than the last. The waves were not scary. Luli could see some black bugs hiding in the waves. It was those bugs that made the Heng River horrifying. What is going on? A glint of anger rose in Ling Wuxiang's eyes. He didn't mind the waves, but they could destroy the marks of Taoism and nature's rhythms in the island. He had just learned something. If the secret realm was destroyed, all his previous efforts would be in vain. I don't know. Ling Tianba looked upstream and said with a frown, maybe someone is fighting upstream and the ancient inhibition formations in the forbidden ground are triggered. Otherwise, there would not be such a big commotion. Damn it! Leng Wushang was enraged. His handsome face was twisted. If the ancient inhibition formations were triggered, many places in the forbidden ground of Elder God would change. Some places that were safe enough would become dangerous. The secret realms that the Ling family had explored might disappear. It is not entirely a bad thing. A glint of excitement rose in Ling Wushang's eyes. His average-looking face glowed. He grinned and said, every time the ancient inhibition formations are triggered, the forbidden ground of Elder God will change. Many hidden secret realms will be revealed, and some treasures will come to light. Maybe Emperor Heng's relic weapons and armors will come to light. What? Everyone's eyes glowed. Legend had it that Emperor Heng brought back a relic weapon and a relic armor from the divinity. It had been so many years, and nobody had the chance to find them. Maybe this was a great opportunity. Relic weapons and armors? Chapter 7:18. Boom, 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 the waves were getting stronger and stronger. The island was collapsing. Rocks and mud were washed away by the wave. Ling Wushang and the others were both worried and excited at the same time. The secret area was destroyed. A land of treasures was gone. This indirectly indicated that something big must have happened in the forbidden ground of Elder God. Many places would be turned upside down. Some hidden secret areas would be revealed and many treasures would come to light. Let's go. When half of the island was washed away, Leng Wushang decided to leave this secret area alone. He would look for a new one and start his treasure hunt. Treasure hunt. Regardless of whether it was the young or the old, powerful treasures were very attractive. Not to mention divine artifacts, even semi-divine artifacts would be fought over if they appeared. Although there were many experts in the various realms, no one had a divine artifact. If any family could get their hands on a divine artifact, they would be able to obtain it. If any family could get a relic, they could even unify all the universes, let alone this one. Ling Wushang took the lead and ran upstream along the Heng River. He wanted to see what had happened upstream that caused the river to rise and the wave. They sped up. They didn't take out their bead of life and were only running on foot. Still, they could reach the initial stage of the Noble Lord realm. They were taking care of Luli. Otherwise, they could be as fast as the later stage of the Noble Lord realm. Boom, 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 they had been running for 6 hours. The river was still raging. They were getting more and more excited. Something big must have happened upstream because of such a drastic change. Valuable treasures might have emerged. 10 hours later. The waves were getting smaller. Ling Wushang yelled, "Hurry up! We are not far away." Leng Tianba threw Lu Li a look. He picked him up with one hand and was about to take him away. Lu Li grinned. It was more comfortable to have someone carrying him. He didn't have to worry about triggering any inhibition formations. They sped up. Ling Wuxin took Ling Wumi with her. Both of them sped up and ran along the river. Boom, 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 they had been running for an hour when they heard some loud noises. Ling Wushang, who was at the front, waved his hand to stop. He listened for a while and said with a frown, 8 people are fighting, 4 Earth Immortal Realm warriors and 4 Human Sovereign Realm warriors. 4 Earth Immortal Realm warriors? Ling Wushang and Ling Wuxin frowned. It must be a super family. Otherwise, there wouldn't be 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors accompanying them. I'll go check it out. Ling Wushang signaled Ling Tianba with his eyes, then sneaked forward by himself. Spiritual will couldn't be used here, and there was a dense fog everywhere. Only by approaching would one know which clan's disciple was from. Ling Wushang and the others didn't move. They weren't in a hurry. They had to figure out what was going on first. They waited nearby. After the time for one incense stick to burn, Ling Wushang came back and reported, "Warriors of 2 super families of the Mage Imperial Universe are fighting. There is a new secret area nearby with a cave. The 2 families must be fighting over the cave." From the Mage Imperial Universe? Ling Wushang felt a headache coming on. Of the 4 universes, the last one he wanted to face was the Mage Imperial Universe. He and the other 2 universes feared to run into the Mage Imperial Universe as well. Warriors of the Mage Imperial Universe were all lunatic. Once they were provoked, they would fight to the death. Unless you kill them, they will hunt you down for the next 11 months. Mage Imperial Universe. Luli made a mental note of Ling Wumi's explanation in a low voice. Warriors of the Mage Imperial Universe were a good weapon. He could make use of them if he had the chance. There is only one cave nearby? Ling Wushang asked. Ling Wushang nodded. Ling Wushang waved his hand and said, "Let's go around. Don't get into conflict with the warriors of the Mage Imperial Universe. Let's keep going upstream." The others nodded. Clearly, they didn't want to get into conflict with the warriors of the Mage Imperial Universe. They took a detour and then went upstream. The ancient inhibition formations were triggered. Many places in the Forbidden Ground would change. There must be more than one new secret area. There was no need to stick to one tree. They moved on. This time, they walked for a whole day. Finally, they stopped. They found a new land of treasures. There was a hill by the riverside. The Forbidden Ground of Elder God was mostly flat land and covered with forests. There were few mountains. According to the records of the Lung family, there were no hills here. Now that there was one, it must be a land of treasures. "There is a cave over there," Lung Tianba suddenly shouted. Everyone's eyes glowed. Through the mist, they could see a cave in a corner of the hill. The cave was small and could only fit one person. "There must be treasures in there," Ling Wumi yelled. Usually, there would be treasures in new caves. The Ling family had at least 10 quasi-relics in the Forbidden Ground of Elder God. Ling Wushang threw Ling Tianba a look. The latter understood his intention and dashed toward the cave. Luli was envious. But with the Earth Immortal Realm warrior of the Ling family, how could he dare to take the treasures? Even if he did, Ling Wuxin would take the treasures, not to mention that he couldn't. Ling Tianba went in first. Ling Wushang walked to the entrance of the cave and said to Luli with a smile, "Brother Lu, you wait outside with Sister Wuxin and Wumi. There are always great dangers in caves like this. Let's go in and take a look. We will share the treasures." Ling Wushang went in with Ling Wushuang. Luli sneered to himself. Share the treasures? The Ling family must have taken all the good stuff. "Brother Wushang, I want to take a look as well." Ling Wumi was young and restless. Naturally, she wouldn't want to wait outside. If she went in, she could ask Ling Wushang for treasures that suited her. There was nothing outside. Ling Wumi went in but Ling Wuxin didn't move. Luli was excited. He tried to persuade Ling Wuxin, "Young lady Wuxin, don't you want to go in and take a look?" Ling Wuxin threw him a cold look, but didn't say anything. Luli continued, "What if there are relics? Ha ha, we cannot let them all take them." Slap, Ling Wuxin slapped Luli away. Looking at Luli who was crawling up in astonishment, Ling Wuxin sneered, "Young Master Lu, don't forget who you are. If you dare to flirt with me again, I will kill you." Ling Wuxin seemed to be saying that Luli had flirted with her. But the deeper meaning was clear. To remind Luli not to forget who he really was and not to think of himself as a big shot. For Ling Wuxin, he was just a dog that would bite on her behalf. Luli's face was burning. He was filled with killing intent. This was the first time in his life that he had been slapped in the face, and it was by a woman. The humiliation almost drove him mad. Phew, phew, he took a deep breath, trying to suppress the killing intent in him. He forced a smile. It seemed that he had lost his sense of measure. Had he forgotten his real situation? That slap had woken him up. That was right. He was a dog in Ling Wuxin's hands, a dog that could be killed by its master at any time. Ling Wuxin had been polite. But deep down, she didn't see him as a human being. She saw him as a tool that could be thrown away when she was done with him. Because of the token of the Blood Emperor, Lu Li was treated well at the Ling family. Even the most powerful young master of the Ling family, the future crown prince, treated him with respect. It seemed that Lu Li really thought of himself as the apprentice of the Blood Emperor, as a big shot. He had forgotten the real situation and the hidden fatal danger. Lu Li, you are dancing on the tip of a knife. One wrong move and you will be smashed into pieces. Lu Li closed his eyes and blamed himself. Lu Ling and Bai Qiuxue were still waiting for him to go back. When the 10 years were up, the armies of the 4 forces would swarm into the Clouds Plains, Serenity Plains and the Northern Desert. Countless civilians and armies would be slaughtered. Chapter 719. After Ling Wuxin took Lu Li away from the inferno, she never abused him. She didn't even hit him. Instead, she was kind to him. She explained the situation of the Central Imperial Universe to Lu Li, gave him the Zen bead and elixirs. This created a false impression for Lu Li that Ling Wuxin had something to ask of him. Therefore, Lu Li didn't feel threatened. The slap had woken him up. He finally realized that to Ling Wuxin, he was just a puppet. His life was in the hands of Ling Wuxin, and she could crush him at any time. He had infuriated Ling Wuxin by instigating her to get the treasures. He had crossed the line. Ling Wuxin slapped him to let him know who he really was and to remind him that his life was in the hands of Ling Wuxin. She was as pretty as a flower, but she was poisonous and merciless. Lu Li took a deep breath and stood up. There was no anger or killing intent on his face. Instead, he cupped his fists and said, "Young Lady Wuxin, I am sorry. I have been rude." Lu Li buried all his emotions in the depth of his heart. From this moment on, he would no longer be himself. He would keep his true nature and become a frog jumping on a knife. He must make every move carefully and try to survive so that he could go back to the Heaven Reverse universe. To him, Ling Wuxin was no longer a beauty, Ling Wumi was no longer an innocent girl, and Ling Wushang was no longer an elegant young master. All of them had one identity, and that was enemies. Everyone from the Ling family was his enemy. The Central Imperial Universe and those from other universes were all his enemies. If he had the chance, he would not be soft-hearted. Only in this way could he survive. Otherwise, what awaited him would be a bottomless abyss. Good. Ling Wuxin was satisfied with the change in Lu Li's attitude. She said nothing more. She looked into the cave, waiting for Ling Wushang and the others to come out. Whoosh! After the time for 3 incense sticks to burn, 2 people dashed out from the cave. It was Ling Wushang and Ling Wumi. They looked awful. As soon as they got out of the cave, they shouted, "Retreat!" What? Ling Wuxin and Lu Li's expressions turned cold. Was there a powerful beast in the cave? Without any hesitation, Lu Li stepped back and so did Ling Wuxin. Chirp! A strange scream came from the cave. Ling Wushang and Ling Wumi were still in the cave. They started rolling on the ground, holding their heads in their hands. Ling Wushang shouted, "Brother Lu, help us!" Feather Wind. Lu Li and Ling Wuxin, who had retreated for thousands of feet, looked at each other. Their pupils contracted and then their eyes glowed. There was strong feather wind in the cave, which was much stronger than the feather wind outside. Even Ling Wushang's soul might not be able to withstand it. Ling Wuxin had always wanted to kill Ling Wushang. Wasn't this the best chance? Ling Wushuang and Ling Tianbao were both in the cave. Clearly, they were trapped by the feather wind and could not save Ling Wushang. If Lu Li didn't go, Ling Wushang might be attacked by the feather wind and his soul would collapse. Young Master Lu, save them. Ling Wuxin glanced at Ling Wushang and suddenly said. Lu Li looked at Ling Wuxin in surprise. He saw the determination in her eyes. He had no choice but to dash forward into the cave. Hiss, hiss, the feather wind here was indeed strong. Lu Li's eardrums were hurting, but his soul was not affected. He carried Ling Wushang in one hand and Ling Wumi, who had fainted, in the other. He rushed out. 2 miles away from the entrance of the cave, there was no more feather wind. Lu Li left Ling Wumi and Ling Wushang behind and asked Ling Wuxin, "Where are the 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors? Do we save them?" Ling Wushang breathed heavily. After a few breaths he said, "Yes, go. The feather wind in there is stronger. You be careful." Ling Wuxin nodded and said, "Young Master Lu, please go and save Uncle Wushuang and Uncle Tianba." Lu Li and Ling Wuxin looked at each other. They saw something in her eyes. Lu Li's heart skipped a beat. Ling Wuxin was so cruel. She asked him to find a chance to kill 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors? It seemed that the feather wind at the entrance of the cave was not strong enough to kill Ling Wushang. That was why Ling Wuxin asked Lu Li to save them. Since the 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors didn't come out, it was possible that they were trapped by the feather wind. Lu Li could kill them if he had the chance. Lu Li made up his mind and rushed into the cave. He slowed down as soon as he entered the cave. He didn't want to die. What if the silver dragon mark could not stand the strong feather wind? He used Xian energy near his eardrums to ease the pain. If his eardrums were to burst, he would become deaf for a while. The cave extended downward. Feather wind was blowing out from the depth of the cave. The deeper he went, the stronger the feather wind was. Lu Li was relieved that he hadn't seen the 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors after a couple of miles. The feather wind was already horrifying, but he didn't feel any pain in his soul. The silver dragon mark must have a strong resistance against the feather wind. Lu Li slowed down as he moved on. The cave was narrow. Only one person could go through at a time. Lu Li even punched at the stone wall. Bang! Lu Li didn't put all his strength into this punch, but it contained at least tens of thousands of pounds of strength. The punch landed on the stone wall as if it were an iron plate. There was a muffled sound, but the stone wall was not damaged at all. Bang! Lu Li punched as hard as he could. The stone wall didn't move at all. There was only a muffled sound. Lu Li pouted and pressed on. Another couple of miles later, Lu Li faintly heard some miserable cries. Was it Ling Wushang? Lu Li stopped and listened carefully. He was sure that it was Ling Wushang's voice but not Ling Tianba's. A glint of coldness rose in Lu Li's eyes. He stopped and stood there. Ling Wuxin had his life in her hands. He must find a way to kill Ling Wushang. To kill Ling Wushang, the 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors must be eliminated. Otherwise, even if Lu Li could kill Ling Wushang, he would be killed. Now was the best chance. Lu Li held his breath and waited. After the time for half an incense stick to burn, Ling Wushang stopped screaming. Lu Li moved on quietly. 1 mile, 2 miles. Finally, Lu Li found 2 dark figures. It was dark in the tunnel. He found them by sensing their breaths and heartbeat. Ling Wushang and Ling Tianba seemed to have passed out. Their breaths were slow and so were their heartbeat. Clearly, they were still alive. Should I kill them or not? The defense of a person who had fainted would be very low. At this moment, the souls of the 2 people must have been severely injured. Killing them would not be too risky. Kill them, Lu Li made up his mind. Only by killing the 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors could he have a chance of survival. Suppressing the killing intent in him, Lu Li walked on slowly while trying to sense their breaths and heartbeat. When he was close enough, Lu Li shouted, "Lord Wushang, Lord Tianba, are you okay? Wake up. I am here to get you out." Lu Li shouted. The two were lying on the ground like dead bodies. Lu Li carried Ling Wushuang on his back and walked out. He put Ling Wushuang down after dozens of feet. Whoosh! Lu Li mobilized Xian energy and released Burning Blood skill at the same time. He swung his fist and smashed at Ling Wushuang's head. Chapter 720. Ling Wushuang definitely had a demigod weapon. Saint-tier battle armor and demigod weapons all had a very powerful ability. They could be hidden inside one's body and would appear at crucial moments to defend the whole body. Therefore, if Lu Li wanted to kill an Earth Immortal Realm warrior, the Rising Dragon skill would not be enough. Only the soul-shattering skill could penetrate the warrior's defense and shatter his soul. 27 vibration waves of strength and 12 vibration waves of soul surged toward Ling Wushuang's head through Lu Li's fist. As soon as Lu Li's fist touched Ling Wushuang's body, a blue armor emerged. Rays of light flowed on the armor. It was exceptionally gorgeous and beautiful. Mysterious runes flickered on it. It was a semi-divine armor. Lu Li's fist didn't land on his head, but on the blue helmet. Buzz! Ling Wushuang's eyes opened at this moment, and they were filled with cold, killing intent. It was obvious that his soul sensed a fatal danger, which woke him up from his coma. Lu Li was scared out of his wits. But what else could he do? The only thing he could do was to control the 27 energy shockwaves and the 12 soul shockwaves to crazily surge towards Ling Wushuang's soul. Boom! 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 Waves of horrifying power vibrated above Ling Wushuang's soul pond. Ling Wushuang closed his eyes again. He looked like he was in pain. His soul had just been attacked by the feather wind and was severely injured. The feather wind was strong as well. Lu Li's attacks were ferocious. There was no way for him to fight back. He had to find a way to defend himself. Ling Wushuang's soul pond was very strong. The 27 vibration waves didn't do much damage to his soul pond. However, when Lu Li's 12 waves of soul attacks reached his soul pond, he sensed fear from his soul. His soul was badly damaged and the feather wind was still attacking. Lu Li's soul attacks were not that strong. Usually, when there was nothing to do, he could just stand there and let Lu Li kill him. At the moment, Lu Li's soul attack was like a small hand pushing him into an abyss, messing up his soul. All right. Lu Li's psychic power sensed that Ling Wushuang's soul was in a mess and was on the verge of collapse. Lu Li was so excited that he was trembling. He punched again with his other hand. Rumble 27 energy vibrations and 12 soul vibrations surged forward. This time, Ling Wushuang couldn't resist at all. He let out a sorrowful howl as blood slowly flowed out of his 7 apertures. His breathing gradually weakened until he finally died. Buzz! After Ling Wushuang died, the demigod battle armor on his body automatically detached from his body and floated in the air. The battle armor was very complete, including a helmet, battle armor, and battle boot. Demigod artifact battle armor. Lu Li swallowed. He was trembling again. With a quasi-relic, it would be hard for average warriors to kill him. His defensive abilities would be greatly enhanced. He immediately grabbed the quasi-relic armor and did not even look at Ling Wushuang's body. A dead man is a dead man. No matter if you were an Earth Immortal or a human sovereign when you were alive, you could only turn into dust after death. Refined out of instinct, Lu Li wanted to take control of the quasi-relic armor. But soon, he came to his senses. If he dared to take control of the quasi-relic armor, Ling Wuxin and Ling Wushang would notice something was off. After all, it was a quasi-relic of the Ling family. Not going out? This place was absolutely safe. Not even an Earth Immortal could enter. The problem was that Lu Li was poisoned and he only had half a year's worth of antidote. What should he do after that? Without Ling Wuxin's antidote, he would still die. Put it aside for now. Lu Li took out several interspatial rings. He put the quasi-relic armor and Ling Wushang's interspatial ring into one. Then, he put the interspatial ring into another interspatial ring. After several times, he put the interspatial ring into his own interspatial ring. There is one more. Lu Li rubbed his face and took a deep breath. That was a close call. Ling Wushuang had woken up. If Ling Wushuang could withstand the damage in his soul and attack Lu Li casually, Lu Li would have been smashed into pieces. He could not afford to be careless. He must be careful. Lu Li warned himself. An Earth Immortal Realm warrior with a damaged soul was still an Earth Immortal Realm warrior. A dying counterattack could tear him apart. Lu Li didn't put Ling Wushuang's body away. There was feather wind in the cave. Nobody could get in. It was the safest place. Worst came to worst, he could drag Ling Wushuang deeper into the cave. After a moment of rest, Lu Li walked in. Ling Tianba was still in a coma. Lu Li didn't do anything right away. Instead, he dragged Ling Tianba's body into the cave. The feather wind in the cave would grow stronger. Even if Ling Tianba woke up, he would faint under the attack of the feather wind. Lu Li dragged Ling Tianba for more than 20 miles. The feather wind was getting stronger. Even his eardrums couldn't stand it. This is it, Lu Li murmured. This time, he took out his divine weapon of Dragon King and smashed at Ling Tianba's head. Buzzing, an armor appeared over Ling Tianba's body. It was only a holy grade armor, not a quasi-relic, which disappointed Lu Li. But he remembered that Ling Wushuang was responsible for protecting Ling Wushang, while Ling Tianba was responsible for protecting Ling Wuxin and Ling Wumi. Their treatment and status must be different. Without any surprise, Lu Li killed Ling Tianba, whose soul was badly injured, in one move. As a matter of fact, Lu Li didn't have to do anything. The two were already dying. Their souls would collapse sooner or later if they stayed in the cave. Lu Li was just sending them on their way earlier. Phew, Lu Li breathed heavily. His forehead was covered in cold sweat. He didn't feel anything before, but now, he was scared. He had killed 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors. Earth Immortal Realm warriors were Earth Immortals, supreme warriors in the Heaven Reverse universe, invincible beings. Let's throw some bodies in. After a while, Lu Li dragged Ling Wushuang's body over and dragged the 2 bodies deeper into the cave. This could not be exposed. Otherwise, he would be killed by Ling Wushang as soon as he went out. Lu Li dragged the 2 bodies for more than 20 miles, but he hadn't reached the bottom yet. Lu Li didn't dare to go any further. His eardrums would burst if he went any further. He could find some elixirs to repair his eardrums, but what if something else happened? I wonder what kind of treasures are at the bottom of the cave. Lu Li looked into the depth of the cave with pity. If he could reach the bottom under the pressure of the feather wind, he might be able to find some treasures. Or there might be relic weapons and armors in there. After all, this place was horrifying. Should I go in and have a look? A crazy idea came to Lu Li's mind. At the risk of bursting his eardrums and dying in there, he dashed into the bottom of the cave to explore. If there were relic weapons and armors in there, he would be rich. Let's try it. Another 2 miles. Lu Li made up his mind. He dragged the 2 bodies forward. However, after only 2,000 feet, he collapsed to the ground in pain, holding his head. His wishful thinking was too good. The silver dragon mark could not stand it any longer. His soul was being attacked by the feather wind. If he dared to go further, he would die in there. Let's go. Lu Li sighed and hurried out. He was thinking about how to explain to Ling Wushang. If Ling Wushang saw through him, Lu Li would be killed right away. P.S. I have to go out in the afternoon to deal with some errands. I have to update earlier. I am still 1 chapter late. Chapter 721. Lu Li checked his body. Apart from his ears, there was no blood anywhere else. He tidied up his robe and made sure that Ling Tianba and Ling Wushuang's interspatial rings were put away before he strode out. When he was about to reach the entrance of the cave, he made up his mind and smashed at his head, cracking several blood vessels in his head. Blood gushed out from his mouth, nose, ears, and eyes. His face paled. He rushed out, his face twisted in pain. The four were waiting anxiously outside. Ling Wushang, Ling Wumi, and Ling Buji were taken aback when they saw Lu Li coming out alone. Ling Wuxin stared at Lu Li's mouth, nose, eyes, and ears with suspicion, wondering if Lu Li was pretending. "I am sorry," Lu Li rushed to the fore and said with shame, "the feather wind in there is so strong. I have tried several times, but I cannot save you." Swish, swish, swish. Ling Wushang, Ling Wumi, and Ling Buji turned pale. They had not only lost 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors, but also their safety. The portal to the Forbidden Ground of Elder God would be closed in half a month. Within a year, the Ling family could not send any powerful warriors in. If they encountered Earth Immortal Realm warriors from opposing families, they would be doomed. Ling Wuxin was still doubtful. She winked at Lu Li, who closed his eyes and shook his head. He told Ling Wuxin in a silent way that he was not pretending and that they could not be saved. "Brother Lu, are you sure that you cannot save them? You can name your conditions as long as you can get Uncle Wushuang and Uncle Tianba out." Ling Wushang did not give up. He grabbed Lu Li's hands and shouted. He was in a hurry. He no longer had the demeanor of a young master. Lu Li sat on the ground, wiped the blood from his mouth and eyes. He sighed and said, "Young Master Wushang, you know how horrifying the feather wind is in there. I have been walking for more than 3 miles, and I have to grit my teeth to crawl forward. But I still haven't seen you too. I really cannot go on or I will die in there." Ling Wushang, Ling Wumi, and Ling Buji looked at each other. Lu Li was right. They all knew how horrifying the feather wind was. If it weren't for the fact that Ling Tianba and Ling Wushuang used profound meanings to protect themselves, they would have died. Ling Wuxin was still in doubt. But since Ling Wushang and Ling Wumi were here, she couldn't ask. She frowned and asked, "Wushang, what now?" Ling Wushang had no idea. Without the protection of an Earth Immortal, once they encountered an enemy, the consequences would be unthinkable. The problem was, should they continue to be in a deadlock? This was a treasure trove. What if it attracted the attention of experts? Li Li. Li Ling, Li Ling, Ling Ling was from Ling Wind. From Ling Lu from Ling, Ling, Shan, Li I He Wu from Liang. Lu Li's heart skipped a beat. If the feather wind was gone and Ling Wushang went into the cave to find Ling Tianba and Ling Wushuang's bodies, he would be exposed. Lu Li took a healing pellet and closed his eyes to tend to his wounds. If the feather wind was gone and Ling Wushang went in, Lu Li would have to risk his life. He had to find a way to kill Ling Wushang or else he would be the one dead. "I hope the feather wind is still here." Lu Li prayed to himself. He closed his eyes to rest, pretending to heal himself. An hour later, Ling Wumi suddenly yelled, "The feather wind is gone. **T. Lu Li cursed to himself. He was not confident that he could defeat Ling Wushang and Ling Buji. He might not be able to kill Ling Wushang with the soul-shattering skill. He would definitely be killed by Ling Wushang and Ling Buji. "Let's do it." Lu Li made up his mind. Ling Wushang shouted, "Brother Lu, please go ahead and explore. We will go in and see if Uncle Wushuang and Uncle Tianba are still alive." "Okay." Lu Li opened his eyes, glanced at the others and walked inside. Ling Wushang, Ling Buji and Ling Wuxin followed him. Ling Wumi was the weakest among them, so she was at the back. Lu Li walked slowly. He listened to the sounds in the cave. He was tense and nervous. If the feather wind didn't come again, he would have to kill. Ling Wushang didn't dare to move too fast. What if the feather wind came again? They walked in carefully. 1,000 feet, 2 miles, 9 miles. All of a sudden, from the cave came a strange noise. Lu Li's eyes glowed. He yelled, "Go back now. The feather wind is coming. I have to deal with it." Run! Leng Wushang and the others were scared out of their wits. They ran out at the top of their speed. Lu Li stood there leisurely, wiping the cold sweat off his forehead. The fatal crisis was over. The cave would be fine as long as no one came in. Once someone did, the feather wind would come. Ling Tianba and Ling Wushuang's bodies were in the depth of the cave. Nobody could find them. Lu Li didn't want to waste too much time. He left after a pause. When he came out, he said with lingering fear, "The feather wind seems to be stronger than before." Oh no. Leng Wushang was panicking. He had been acting mature and he was experienced in dealing with people. But at the end of the day, he was just a 16-year-old young man. Once something serious happened, he would lose his composure. The 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors were definitely dead. If they were alive, the feather wind would not stop. The feather wind started again after they went in, which was proof. "Let's go." Leng Wuxin was calmer. Or, she was secretly delighted. Whether it was Lu Li who killed the 2 or they were killed by the feather wind, it was good news for her. It would be easier to kill Leng Wushang. Since that night 2 years ago, she had made up her mind to kill Leng Wushang. "Young Master Wushang," Lu Li advised, "this is not a good place to stay. If the 2 lords are still alive, they will make it out sooner or later. We are too eye-catching here. We must leave as soon as possible. What if the Mage Imperial Universe comes? Let's go." Ling Wushang calmed down. This was not a good place to stay. As Lu Li said, if Leng Wushuang and Leng Wuxin were still alive, they would make it out on their own. He thought for a moment, then left a family mark and led the group upstream. They didn't move too fast, for fear that they wouldn't have enough time to run away if something went wrong. Leng Wumi was clearly panicking. She followed Ling Wushang and Ling Buji. Lu Li and Ling Wuxin were at the back. They looked at each other and saw killing intent in each other's eyes. The death of Ling Wushuang and Ling Tianbao would increase their chances of killing Ling Wushang. Ling Wuxin's long-cherished wish was about to come true. She was breathing faster. "Let's find a small secret realm to cultivate." After a while, Ling Wushang said solemnly, "Our family has many enemies. We must not wander around. Let's find a secret realm to cultivate for a year and wait for the teleportation." "Sure." Leng Wuxin nodded and said, "I think so too. Without Uncle Wushuang, if we run into the Feng family or the Earth Imperial Universe, we will be in big trouble." "You are right." Chapter 722. They were lucky. In half a day, they found a secret realm that was well hidden. The secret realm was a cave, but it was small and it was under the turf. Only one person could go in. The Xian Qi in heaven and earth in the secret realm was rich, but not as rich as the island in the river. The cave was small but spacious, with a radius of more than 1,000 feet. There were no treasures, but there were some marks of Xian Qi and nature's rhythms. "Here it is." Ling Wushang went in to have a look and made up his mind. The ancient inhibition formation was triggered and the forbidden ground had changed. There might be many new secret realms and some valuable treasures. But now nobody dared to go looking for treasures. Their lives were more important. They had better find a place to cultivate. "I will go and disguise the cave." Leng Buji had been a man of few words. With these words, he flew out and found some turf to cover up the cave. Psychic power could not be used in the forbidden ground of Elder God. There was mist everywhere. If the cave was covered up, one would not be able to find it unless they were close. Leng Wuxin and Lu Li didn't want to cultivate here because they had to find a way to kill Ling Wushang. If they kept cultivating here, they wouldn't stand a chance. Ling Wushang had treasures all over his body and Ling Buji had quasi-relic. Lu Li and Ling Wuxin couldn't kill the two human sovereign realm warriors. They could be killed by Ling Wushang if they were not careful. But what could they say? Should they go and find other secret realms? Even if they did, Ling Wushang wouldn't run around. They sat in silence, waiting for a chance. Ling Buji came in after some disguise. He left a mark of his family outside. If Ling Wushang and Ling Tianba came out, they would find them. Of course, the chances were slim. They had lost all hope. Ling Wushang had made up his mind to cultivate here for more than 10 months and then be teleported out after 1 year. Lu Li sat for a couple of hours and then began to cultivate. He couldn't just sit here and do nothing. He hadn't learned the profound meaning on the island yet. Also, he needed to improve his soul-shattering skill. Lu Li sensed danger when he failed to kill Ling Wushang in one move. If he could have dozens of vibration waves from his strength and dozens of vibration waves from his soul, he would have a greater chance to kill a human sovereign realm warrior. Lu Li consumed some soul-nurturing pellets and then began to cultivate Xian energy. At the same time, he studied the profound meaning of space vibration in the soul-shattering skill. Ling Wuxin soon entered the state of tranquility. Ling Wushang adjusted his mentality quickly. Ling Buji started his closed-door cultivation early. Only Ling Wumi was a bit nervous. She sat for half a day before she started her closed-door cultivation. The cave was pitch black, and the entrance was blocked. There was no light in the cave, and no one could be seen. They could only hear the breathing of others. However, there was one good thing about cultivating in seclusion. When cultivating, one could forget all the disturbances, forget about the outside world, and have no sense of time. Everyone cultivated inside for a month. This month was very peaceful. Nothing happened outside the cave, and everyone felt that it was over. Lu Li came out from cultivation once. He took some energy pellets, took a nap and continued to consume elixirs related to souls. He had made great progress in the past month. His Xian energy was cultivating fast and his soul pond was growing well. His biggest improvement was the soul-shattering secret skill. His physical shockwaves had reached 50 layers, while his spiritual shockwaves had reached 30 layers. This was horrifying. He could kill an average warrior at the middle stage of the human sovereign realm easily. Of course, there must be an early stage, a successful sneak attack. If a human sovereign realm warrior activated force field, Lu Li would have no other way. Also, human sovereign realm warriors could react fast. If they could dodge in advance, Lu Li would not be able to do anything. Ling Wuxin and Ling Wumi came out from cultivation once. They sneaked out to take a shower or to relieve themselves. Ling Wushang and Ling Buji had been cultivating. More than 2 months had passed. Lu Li was getting a bit impatient. If he kept on cultivating peacefully like this, a year would pass very quickly. Ling Wuxin had said that some progenitor warriors of the Ling family would go to the purgatory of primordial chaos and the prison of soul. If he could not find the Blood Emperor by then, his lie would fall apart. The Ling family would have doubts about his identity. By then, he would have no chance to meet Ling Wushang. Keep cultivating. It was pointless to overthink. He was still too weak. If he could be more powerful, he could kill Ling Wushang and Ling Buji by force. All his troubles would be solved. Lu Li went back to cultivation. This time, he didn't cultivate the soul-shattering skill. Instead, he began to study the profound meaning he learned at the island in the river. He hadn't mastered that profound meaning yet. Theoretically speaking, this profound meaning should be of a high level or else he wouldn't have been stuck for so long. This profound meaning was formed when Lu Li saw the branches and leaves on the island swaying according to a special pattern when the feather wind blew by. There was a strange rhythm in the profound meaning. If he could master the rhythm, he would have mastered the profound meaning. The moment when the feather wind blew by appeared in Lu Li's mind. The strange swaying of the branches and leaves formed pictures and lines in his mind. Following the pictures and lines, Luli worked on it bit by bit, to verify and to study, to see the secrets of heaven. Secrets of heaven must not be divulged. There were two sayings in the ancient saying that Luli found reasonable. As far as Luli was concerned, the strange profound meaning was the so-called secrets of heaven. To be able to see the secrets of heaven meant that one could master the force in heaven and earth. Secrets of heaven could only be understood by oneself. It could not be expressed in words. Therefore it must not be divulged. The rhythm, the leaves, the branches, the rules, what do they contain? Luli kept thinking. During the first month since he came here, he had been pondering for an entire month, but to no avail. He wondered if he had gone the wrong way and was going in the wrong direction. Leaves, branches? Is it a profound meaning related to wood? I shouldn't be studying the rules of the swaying but the leaves and branches? Luli was in deep thoughts. He changed his direction after some thoughts. He began to study the profound meaning related to wood from that scene. 1 day, 3 days, 10 days passed. Suddenly, Luli slapped his head and shouted to himself, "No, no. This is not a profound meaning related to wood. This must be a profound meaning related to wind. I am going in the wrong direction. I shouldn't be studying the rhythm of the branches and leaves. I should be studying the rhythm of the feather wind." It was not because of the swaying of the branches and leaves. It was because when the feather wind passed by the island, the inhibition formation on the island changed its direction and pattern. That was how the feather wind formed. This is the profound meaning related to wind contained in the feather wind. I am going the wrong way. No wonder I can't master it after so long. Luli was burning with excitement. He had been going the wrong way twice. No wonder he couldn't master it after such a long time. This time, he was 100% sure that he had found the right direction. He would be able to master the profound meaning related to wind soon. What kind of profound meaning would it be? What rank would it be? Chapter 7:23. Time flew when one was cultivating. Leng Wuxin and the other 4 had been cultivating in the cave for more than 3 months, but the forbidden ground of Elder God had been turned upside down. The ancient inhibition formations were triggered. The forbidden ground of Elder God had changed. Many new secret areas emerged and many treasures were revealed. The various clans were frantically searching inside. Many disciples of the great clans had already obtained 4 demigod artifacts at most. There were also many secret skills, elixirs and mystical materials. The forbidden ground of Elder God was a treasure trove. Whether or not they could find treasures depended on their luck. This time, young disciples from different universes had come with powerful warriors of the Earth immortal realm. Those young disciples were not in the mood to cultivate. They were focused on treasure hunting. Everyone believed that relic weapons and armors might emerge this time. If they could find relic weapons and armors, it would be more worthwhile than learning a 9th rank profound meaning. Many disciples were running around, looking for new secret areas. The cave Luli and the others were hiding in had been visited by some people. But psychic power could not be used in this place. The mist was thick and the turf covered the cave well. Until now, nobody had found them. This day, Leng Wuxin and Leng Wumi came out again. They were not out to relieve themselves, but to take a bath. When warriors reached a certain realm, they could take energy pellets to replenish their strength. Even when they ate, they would eat food with high energy without any impurities. Therefore, they didn't need to excrete often. Bathing was different. They were born into wealthy families. Ever since they were young, they paid special attention to their appearance and cleanliness. It had been a while since they took a bath, and they felt uncomfortable. There was no river or clear water in the forbidden ground of Elder God. The environment was not good. Ling Wuxin and Ling Wumi still found it hard to bear. They didn't go too far away from the cave. They found a small forest nearby. Ling Wuxin took out an artifact. It was a small white palace with a radius of 30 feet. There was only one hall in the palace. It was not strong in defense, but it was perfect for bathing. Ling Wuxin went in first while Ling Wumi stayed outside. Last time, they did the same thing. They took turns to bathe in case someone broke in. Ling Wuxin took a quick bath and changed into a turquoise dress. She dried her hair with Xian energy and said, "Wumi, you go in. I will stay outside." Ling Wumi walked into the room in a hurry. Ling Wuxin was on guard. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the sound of something piercing through the air suddenly came from afar. Ling Wuxin's expression changed slightly. She listened for a while and was certain that the sound was coming her way. She immediately dashed toward the palace and shouted anxiously, "Wumi, come out now. Someone's coming." Ling Wumi had just taken off her dress and stepped into the pool. Hearing Ling Wuxin's words, she was so scared that her face turned pale. She didn't even have time to wipe herself clean or put on her underwear. She just put on her dress and rushed out. There was nothing underneath, Xiao. She was very fast. Ling Wuxin put away the treasures at once. However, they were still too slow. For ear-piercing sounds rang out in the distance, and 4 silhouettes appeared indistinctly. It was obvious that they had discovered the 2 of them. Ling Wumi felt uncomfortable because she wasn't wearing any underwear. Her hair was still wet. She hid behind Ling Wuxin and asked, "Sister Wuxin, what should we do?" "Calm down, I'll handle it. Don't panic." Ling Wuxin regained her composure. She reminded Ling Wuxin and stood where she was, waiting for the 4 to arrive. Soon, 4 people walked out from the mist. In front of the 4 was an Earth Immortal Realm warrior, 2 young masters in the middle, and another Earth Immortal Realm warrior at the back. Xiao Wanjun? From the Void Universe. Ling Wuxin breathed in relief when she saw the young master in the second group. She had met this young master before. The Void Universe was just one of the 5 small universes. They didn't have the courage to challenge the Central Imperial Universe. Xiao Wanjun was in his 20s. His skin was dark, but he was handsome and easy to recognize. Clearly, he recognized Ling Wuxin. His eyes glowed as he walked over, cupped his fists and said, "Nice to meet you, Lady Wuxin. Nice to meet you again in the forbidden ground of Elder God. I am honored to meet you again." Ling Wuxin nodded indifferently and said, "Nice to meet you, young Master Xiao. This is my sister. Who is this young master next to you?" The other young master's eyes glowed when he saw Ling Wuxin. He introduced himself, "Nice to meet you, Lady Wuxin. I have heard so much about you but never had the chance to meet you. I am from the Void Universe as well. My name is Ocarina. A young master of the Tao family." Ling Wuxin nodded again. Just like the Xiao family, the Tao family was a super overlord in the Void Universe. It was understandable that young masters from the 2 families would come here to hunt for treasures. "Did you find anything?" Ling Wuxin made small talk casually. Ling Wumi hid behind her. She smiled shyly but said nothing. She was not wearing a bra. She didn't dare to show her face. The 2 spots on the front of her dress were faintly visible, not much. Xiao Wanjun said with a bitter smile, "I found a secret area with 2 quasi-relics. But those lunatics from the Mage Imperial Universe took them away." Ocarina looked around with curiosity and asked, "Why didn't you bring any escorts with you? Or did you get separated from your escorts?" Ling Wumi's expressions changed. Ling Wuxin smiled as if nothing had happened and said, "I have many people from my family. Wushang is here as well. They are hunting for treasures nearby. We were bored so we came to take a look." Xiao Wanjun and Ocarina came to understand. They had heard of Ling Wushang. He was the future crown prince of the Ling dynasty. who dared not to pay attention to him. Xiao Wanjun was a socializer. He cupped his fists and said, "Lady Wuxin, I have admired young Master Wushang for a long time. Can you introduce me to him?" Ling Wuxin answered indifferently, "Now is not a good time. You should leave as well in case there is any misunderstanding." "Really?" Xiao Wanjun and Ocarina looked at each other with a strange look in their eyes. Both of them had read between the lines. There must be valuable treasures nearby, and Ling Wushang was searching for them. "Goodbye then. Lady Wuxin, I hope we will meet again." Naturally, Xiao Wanjun didn't dare to compete with the Ling family for treasures. Ling Wuxin had asked them to leave. They didn't want to stay any longer. Phew, after the four of them left, Ling Wumi breathed in relief. Her back was soaked. This time their luck was too bad. The two of them had only prepared to come out for less than an hour, but they encountered such a thing. "Are you going to take a shower or not?" Ling Wuxin looked at Ling Wumi, who shook her head. She was not in the mood to take a shower. What if they ran into someone again? They didn't have Earth Immortal Realm warriors with them like before. They were lucky that they ran into a family from a small universe. If they ran into enemies, they would end up in a miserable state. Ling Wuxin took out the palace and asked Ling Wumi to put on her underwear. Then they went back to the cave in a hurry and continued cultivating. It was quiet in the cave. Everyone was cultivating in seclusion. Ling Wumi was terrified, but she didn't dare to tell Ling Wushang and the others. She had to force herself not to overthink and cultivate in seclusion. One day later, it was still peaceful outside. Ling Wuxin and Ling Wumi were relieved. It seemed that Xiao Wanjun and Ocarina didn't have the guts to try anything funny. After another 2 days, there was a sudden sound of footsteps outside. The footsteps were very hurried, and it was obvious that they were constantly approaching the cave. Oh no! Ling Wushang, Ling Wuxin, and Ling Buji were alerted at the same time. They all looked solemn. The footsteps were clearly from someone searching nearby. Did they come prepared? In other words, were they coming for them? Chapter 724. It didn't matter if someone had walked over accidentally or purposely came looking for them. Everyone was in big trouble. Luli came back to his senses. He had been cultivating in the cave for 4 months. He had learned the basics of wind-related profound meaning. He had not mastered it yet, but it was only a matter of time. What disappointed him was the profound meaning seemed to be of a low level, a simple wind-related profound meaning that could only guide the wind and utilize the force of the wind. Luli knew some low-level profound meanings, such as fire, water, earth, and space, could utilize forces in heaven and earth. But they were weak and were of the lowest level. Luli heard more footsteps. He didn't want to overthink. He walked to Ling Wushang and asked, "What is it?" Ling Wushang made a shushing gesture. He turned to the entrance of the cave and listened carefully. The footsteps were getting heavier. Clearly there were 4 or 5 people. As the footsteps got closer, everyone's heart was in their throats. "There is a cave here." All of a sudden, someone shouted. Ling Wushang and the others turned pale. They had been discovered. There was nowhere to run. Even if they could dig out a tunnel, could they run away from Earth Immortal Realm warriors? Anyone that could come here would have at least 1 or 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors with them. Ling Wushang took a deep breath, gritted his teeth, and stepped forward. He had a special identity. He was the future crown prince of the Ling dynasty. Usually, people had to show him some respect. After all, if he was killed, the Ling family would seek revenge. He looked at Ling Buji and the others. The silver quasi-relic armor appeared and a sword appeared in his hand. He said in a low voice, "Play it by ear. I will go out and deal with them." Ling Wushang rushed out on his own. Luli exclaimed to himself that Ling Wushang deserved to be the future crown prince of the Ling family. His courage was commendable. He was not afraid of death. This was the demeanor of a real disciple from a wealthy family. Let's go. Ling Wuxin and Ling Buji didn't hesitate. If a fight were to break out, they wouldn't be able to run away. They might as well go out together. Lu Li and Ling Wumi stayed at the back. Lu Li wanted to run, but he didn't have the antidote. Even if he ran away, he would still die. He had to bite the bullet. There were 6 people outside, 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors, 3 males and 1 female. Lu Li was relieved to see that he did not know any of them. They were not his enemies. When Ling Wumi saw them, she pulled a long face. Lu Li threw her an inquiring look. Ling Wumi explained in a low voice, "They are from the Earth Imperial Universe, the Jun family, one of the 2 major families of the Earth Imperial Universe. Jun Mengchen and Brother Wushang are enemies. Last time, Brother Wushang broke Jun Mengchen's leg. This situation was very obvious." Xiao Wanjun and Ocarina must have exposed the whereabouts of Ling Wuxin and Ling Wumi. Jun Mengchen from the Earth Imperial Universe must have brought them here for revenge. Whatever the reason, Lu Li knew it would not end well when he saw the gloomy expression of the yellow-robed young master standing in front of him. Jun Mengchen glanced over to Ling Wuxin, Ling Wumi and then Lu Li. In the end, he turned to the cave and said with a smile, "Ling Wushang, where are your Earth Immortal Realm warriors? Ask them to come out and play with my 2 uncles. My family of 4 and your family of 5 can have some fun as well." Ling Wushang put on a cold and arrogant face. He didn't show any sign of fear or guilt. He sneered and said, "My 3 uncles will come out when it is time." "What? Jun Mengchen, is your leg healed? You have forgotten about the pain. TSK. How dare you come here with so few people?" Ling Wushang began to bluff. When he mentioned his 3 uncles, Jun Mengchen and the others were surprised. Ling family had sent 3 Earth Immortal Realm warriors here? Wasn't this against the rules set down by the universe? A family could only bring 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors into the forbidden ground of Elder God. Are you scared? Ling Wushang continued, "Let me tell you the truth. There are 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors from the Qi family of the Central Imperial Universe in the vault. Feng family's Earth Immortal Realm warriors are on their way. Jun Mengchen, if you want to play, I will play with you. Today I, Ling Wushang, will fight you to the end. If you want to take the treasure, let's see if you have what it takes." Ling Wushang's words frightened Jun Mengchen and the others. If there were so many Earth Immortal Realm warriors, wouldn't they be committing suicide by coming here? Ling Wushang didn't have the courage to kill Ling Wushang. But it was hard to say what Ling Wushang could do with the 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors and the other 3. Ling Wushang was at the peak of his power. He stepped forward and shouted, "Buji, tell Uncle Wushang to stop. Tell them to come out and have some fun with the Jun family." "Okay." Ling Buji dashed back into the cave and shouted. The cave was small, so the echo was loud. Whoosh, 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 from the north came some noises. Ling Wushang took a look and was overjoyed. "Good, the Feng family is here as well. Jun Mengchen, none of you can escape today. Charge!" Ling Wushang's sword glowed as he dashed toward Jun Mengchen and the others. There were 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors there. Ling Wushang, a human sovereign realm warrior, was too bold. "Let's go." The Jun family warriors were frightened. An Earth Immortal Realm warrior carried Jun Mengchen and ran away. The other Earth Immortal Realm warrior slapped at Ling Wushang, but he didn't use his profound meaning. He just knocked Ling Wushang away. "Nice." Lu Li cheered for Ling Wushang secretly. He had reached the human sovereign realm at the age of 16 and was selected as the crown prince. He was impressive. He scared away the Jun family warriors with just a few words. "Let's go." Ling Wushang was knocked away. Blood came out from his mouth. He rolled on the ground and shouted. Ling Buji dashed out from the cave. The others took out their beads of life and dashed downstream along the river. The June family warriors were not idiot. They would come to their senses. The fact that Ling Wushang didn't have any Earth Immortal Realm warriors with him was a fatal flaw. Ling Wushang's identity was too honorable. The Ling family Earth Immortal Realm warriors must be with him. On the off chance that Ling Wushang was killed, the 10 quasi-relics would be wasted. Therefore, everyone took out their beads of life and flew at the top of their speed. They were not afraid of triggering any inhibition formations. They flew as fast as they could, trying to get away before the June family realized what was going on. Just as June Mengchen wasn't afraid that the Ling family would kill him, Ling Wushang wasn't afraid that the June family would kill him. But Ling Wuxin, Ling Wumi, Ling Buji, and Lu Li were not so sure. There was a bottom line among the major families. Only the successors and the most outstanding disciples could not be killed. Killing the others wouldn't cause too much trouble. For example, if they raped or killed Ling Wuxin and Ling Wumi, the Ling family would find a chance to get back at them. But if they killed Ling Wushang, the Ling family might send out armies and powerful warriors to the Earth Imperial Universe to avenge the June family. That was the bottom line of the major families. Ling Wushang wasn't afraid of being killed, but he was afraid of being humiliated. Last time in the Prison of Gold, he humiliated June Mengchen. He broke June Mengchen's legs and tortured him for hours, making him hover between life and death. What? Ling Wushang was flying at the top of his speed, almost as fast as a warrior at the later stage of the human sovereign realm. He was worried that Ling Wumi couldn't keep up with him. He was relieved to see that Ling Wuxin was with him. He looked back and was surprised to see that Lu Li had been following them all the way. Chapter 725. Ling Buji and Ling Wumi noticed Lu Li's speed. Ling Wuxin had always known that Lu Li was fast, but she didn't know that he was this fast. Of course, nobody cared if Lu Li had learned a powerful speed skill from the Blood Emperor. They were running for their lives. They wished they could grow wings to be faster. There were 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors of the June family and more from the north. Who could tell which family they were from? They had to run as far as they could before the June family realized what was going on. The further they went, the safer they would be. They flew madly for more than 4 hours, but there was still no one chasing them. Everyone finally felt relieved. 4 hours was enough for them to go further. Even if the June family realized what was going on, they wouldn't be able to catch up so soon. Let's keep going. Ling Wushang was still worried. He threw a look to the maple forest and decided to fly downstream. Ling Wushang still had a glimmer of hope that Ling Wushuang and Ling Tianba could come out. They could reach the wind cave by flying downstream. What if the 2 of them came out? What if they left a mark? They flew along the river. There were no trees by the river, so they wouldn't trigger any inhibition formations. But it would be unsafe to fly in the maple forest like this. Another 2 hours later, they were about to arrive at the wind cave. Still, nobody was coming after them. They were relieved. It seemed that the June family warriors were scared off. The ones from the north had gone to the cave to check and didn't come after them. They should be safe now. Phew, Lu Li observed the surroundings. It wouldn't be long before he arrived at the wind cave. He was relieved. He wouldn't be afraid even if there were enemies coming after them. Not even Earth Immortal Realm warriors could stand the feather wind in the wind cave, but he could. For him, the wind cave was a safe place. Let's take a break. Ling Wushang waved his hand. They might not be physically tired, but they must be mentally exhausted. Their souls had been tense. If they didn't relax, they could be in trouble if they were in danger. They put away their bead of life, took out some food and water, and sat down on the grass. They had just finished a piece of dried meat when they heard a slight noise coming from the north. Let's go. Everyone immediately flew up like frightened rabbits, their heavenly jewels appearing, and they flew towards the south like sharp swords. Ha ha ha! After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, laughter came from behind. Leng Wushang, you can't escape. If I let you escape again today, I will write my name backwards. Jun Mengchen's words were filled with undisguised murderous intent. They had also flown here on their natal pearls, and their speed had reached the later stage of the human sovereign realm. The two Earth Immortals were carrying one person each, so they were very fast. Lu Li, on the other hand, was not in a hurry. Even though the warriors behind them were faster than them on average, they would arrive at the Wind Cave soon. What was there to be afraid of? Seeing that Leng Wushang was panicking, Yi Futian rolled his eyes and many ideas popped up in his mind. After a while, he shouted, "Young Master Wushang, let's go to the wind tunnel. Even if you pass out in there, I can save your lives. If they dare to come in, I can make them suffer the consequences." Leng Wushang looked back at Lu Li. He suddenly remembered that Lu Li was not afraid of feather wind. At the very least, he would be able to go very far into the wind tunnel. Earth Immortals would definitely not be able to withstand it. However, what if they couldn't handle it after entering the wind tunnel? The soul attack of feather wind was ferocious. What if their souls could not withstand it and collapsed? Leng Wuxin was intrigued. This was a good chance. It would be so easy to kill Leng Wushang in the wind tunnel. Leng Wuxin was not afraid that Lu Li would kill her. After all, if she died, there would be no antidote. Lu Li would have to die. Leng Wuxin thought for a while and said, "Right? Apart from the wind tunnel, there is no other way. Young Master Lu, if you can save us this time, I will reward you handsomely." Leng Wushang's eyes glowed when he saw Lu Li's lecherous look. Leng Wushang let down his guard. He turned to Leng Wumi, who turned to Lu Li with a pitiful look and said, "Brother Lu, if you can keep us alive, I will serve you as your maid." Lu Li's cheeks glowed. He patted his chest and said, "Don't worry. I am here. Nothing will happen to you. Okay, let's go to the wind tunnel. Brother Lu, after this, I will reward you handsomely." Leng Wushang put his mind at ease. If Lu Li could really help them survive this disaster, marrying Leng Wuxin or Leng Wumi to Lu Li wouldn't be a problem. They kept flying forward. When they arrived at the wind cave, Leng Wushang looked out of the cave, but he didn't see any markings. His eyes dimmed down. It had been several months. It seemed that Leng Wuxuang and Leng Tianba were dead for sure. There were signs of someone attacking the wind tunnel. Someone must have come to check but couldn't get in. That person was so angry that he tried to smash the wind tunnel open. "Let's go." They could see some black dots behind them. In the time for a dozen breaths at most, they would arrive. They didn't dare to linger. They put away their bead of life and rushed into the wind tunnel. "Go in. Don't be afraid. I am here. You will not die." Lu Li took the lead and shouted. The others followed Lu Li. Just like last time, feather wind came in after they were only 10 miles in. Previously, they would have turned around and run. But now, they had no choice but to press on. Leng Wumi was the first to succumb to the feather wind. She hugged her head and rolled on the ground. Leng Wuxin and the others couldn't move anymore. They stood there in pain. Leng Buji leaned against the wall as if he could fall at any moment. "Earth Immortal Realm warriors here can attack you easily. I will take you in. Hang on. If you can't handle it, pass out." Lu Li shouted. He was overjoyed. As long as they could go in and all of them would pass out, everything would be perfect. He grabbed Leng Wumi and Leng Wushang with the other hand. Then, they dashed in. 2 miles in, Leng Wumi couldn't stand it anymore. She screamed and passed out. Leng Wushang held his head and howled in pain. Lu Li threw them to the ground and went back to bring Leng Buji and Leng Wuxin in. Leng Wuxin was groaning in pain. Seeing Lu Li grabbing her arm, she gave him a warning look. She was telling Lu Li in a silent way that if he dared to do anything rash, she would die with him. Whoosh, whoosh, from the cave came some noises of footsteps. An Earth Immortal Realm warrior dashed out. Jun Mengchen's murderous voice came from behind. "Uncle Nine, Kill them all apart from Ling Wushang. Well, leave Ling Wuxin here. I want to have some fun. How come the feather wind is so strong? The Earth Immortal Realm warrior had moved forward for thousands of feet when the feather wind had passed. He was taken aback. He saw Lu Li in the distance. His hand glowed as he made a spear out of Xian Qi in heaven and earth. He waved his hands and shouted, "Go to hell!" Swish, swish, the spear made of Xian Qi whooshed across the sky as fast as lightning. In an instant, the spear had reached Lu Li's back. "Young Masterling, I am sorry." Lu Li didn't even look back. He sensed the tremor in the space behind him. He threw Ling Buji to the back and dashed forward with Ling Wuxin. Bang! Ling Buji was wearing a quasi-relic armor. But how strong was the attack of an Earth Immortal Realm warrior? That spear made of Xian Qi in heaven and earth landed on Ling Buji's armor. With a loud noise, Ling Buji was smashed away. Blood oozed out from his mouth, nose, ears, and eyes. Even if he didn't die, he would be badly injured. P.S. That's the 5th chapter. Remember to vote for me after you finish reading it. There are free tickets every day. Don't waste them. Chapter 726. The violent airwaves smashed Lu Li and Ling Wuxin into the cave as well. They rolled on the ground. Out of instinct, Ling Wuxin held Lu Li in her arms. They were smashed away for thousands of feet and rolled around. But they didn't suffer serious injuries. Ling Wushang heard Ling Buji's last scream. He gritted his teeth and shouted, "Buji, are you okay?" Ling Wuxin was under Lu Li. Her face was covered in blood. Lu Li was injured by the impact. She sensed that Ling Buji's qi and energy were weakening. She glared at him and said angrily, "Lu Li, how dare you do this? Do you have a death wish?" Lu Li sneered and said in a low voice, "If I don't use Ling Buji, do I use you?" The feather wind here was too strong for Ling Wuxin to say much. She grunted and agreed with Lu Li's decision. It was too dangerous. If Lu Li hadn't used Ling Buji to protect himself, he would have died for sure. If Lu Li died, so would they. Xiao! The Earth Immortal Realm warriors of the Jun family must have forced their way in. Lu Li didn't dare to stay any longer. He didn't mind Ling Buji. He crawled up and made a hand shadow behind him. Then, he grabbed Ling Wuxin and rushed forward at the top of his speed. Boom! Lu Li's hand silhouette was shattered by the Earth Immortal Realm warrior. That being said, Lu Li's hand silhouette had attracted some feather wind which slowed down the Earth Immortal Realm warrior. The soul of an Earth Immortal Realm warrior was strong, but it could not withstand the soul attack of the feather wind. Ling Wuxin kept screaming in pain. She held her head in her hands. The deeper Lu Li went, the stronger the soul attack on her was. The pain was unbearable, so she simply raised her hand and smacked her head to make herself faint. That way it wouldn't be so painful. Lu Li rushed on and soon reached Ling Wushang. Ling Wushang was still struggling. His handsome face was twisted. He stared at Lu Li and shouted, "Lu Li, where is Buji?" "Dead," Lu Li said emotionlessly. "He was killed by the Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warrior. I could not save him." "Jun Mingchen, I swear I'll kill you!" Ling Wushang shouted in rage. However, because of the anger, he couldn't take care of his soul. He rolled on the ground in pain. Lu Li didn't waste time. This was not a safe distance yet. He held Ling Wumi and Ling Wuxin in one hand and grabbed Ling Wushang with the other. Strange. The Earth Immortal Realm warriors behind Lu Li were surprised to see Lu Li galloping away. The feather wind here was horrifying. How come Lu Li, a noble Lord Realm warrior, was fine? Forget it. Another 3 miles later, the Earth Immortal Realm warrior no longer dared to go deeper. The feather wind attacks in this place were already quite ferocious. If he went any deeper, he might be ambushed. He turned around and retreated, carrying Ling Buji's body with him. Then, he used one hand to grab Ling Buji's quasi-relic armor. At the very least, he managed to obtain a demigod battle armor. Lu Li heard the footsteps retreating. He took a deep breath and walked on for thousands of feet before he stopped. Ling Wushang was still screaming. He had a strong will, so he hadn't passed out yet. But his facial expressions were twisted. He must have suffered a powerful soul attack. Lu Li put Ling Wuxin and Ling Wumi on the ground. He sat down and began to think about what to do next. Ling Wushang was like an ant in his hands. He could crush him at any time, and so could Ling Wuxin. The question was, would Ling Wuxin help him if he killed Ling Wushang? It was because Lu Li wasn't sure that he didn't kill Ling Wushang right away. But this was the best situation. Ling Wuxin was in his hands and he could kill her at any time. Lu Li thought about it for a while. Then, he slapped the back of Ling Wushang's head to knock him out. Lu Li sat for a while and poured some water on Ling Wuxin's face. Ling Wuxin didn't wake up. Lu Li had to pour more water on her. After a while, Ling Wuxin woke up. Lu Li took out a soul-nurturing pellet and fed it to her. Then, he asked, Ling Wushang is under my control now. Should I kill him or not? Ling Wuxin kept humming. Her mind was not clear. Hearing Lu Li's words, she shouted hysterically, "Kill him now! Kill Ling Wushang!" Antidote. Lu Li reached out his hand and said, "Give me the antidote first. I am not that stupid." Ling Wuxin's interspatial ring glowed as 8 or 9 pellets appeared. She waved them around and yelled, "Take them all. Do it now." Lu Li picked up the 7 or 8 pellets and said with a frown, "This is the antidote that can only be taken once every half a year. I want the antidote that can cure me completely." "I don't have it." Ling Wuxin was almost dead. She collapsed on the ground, holding her head in her hands, and said feebly, "The real antidote can only be made when we get out of here. You kill him first, and I'll make it for you later." "You don't have it?" Lu Li pulled a long face. He felt he had been tricked. Without the antidote, his life would always be in Ling Wuxin's hands. It was not a good feeling. Lu Li even had the urge to go berserk. Bang! Then, he raised his fist and gave Ling Wuxin a heavy punch, knocking her out. He didn't want to put up with his life in someone else's hands anymore. He decided to take the risk and take control of Ling Wuxin. That was right. He wanted to take control of Ling Wuxin so that his life would not be in someone else's hands. He remembered a secret skill he had seen before. Soul snatching. The ancestor god of the Cyan Phoenix race once collected 2 kinds of ancient skills. One was soul shattering and the other was soul snatching. Lu Li hadn't mastered the soul shattering skill yet. Even though he had 50 vibration waves in his strength and 30 vibration waves in his soul, Lu Li felt he was far from the peak. There was more time for him to learn. Therefore, Lu Li never started to learn the soul-snatching skill. Lu Ling had the fire phoenix pellet so she could control puppets easily. Lu Li didn't think it was meaningful to learn it. Now, Lu Li was ready to learn it. He wanted to take control of Ling Wuxin and turn her into his soul slave. In this way, his life would be in his hand. "Let's go." Lu Li didn't think it was safe. He carried Ling Wuxin, Ling Wumi and Ling Wushang into the cave. He wanted the 3 of them to be immobilized when they woke up. In this way, nothing could go wrong. He needed time to learn the soul-snatching skill and a quiet environment. He could not allow anyone to disturb him or sneak attack him. Another 2 miles later, Lu Li felt it was enough. If he went any further, the 3 souls would collapse. He fed Ling Wumi some soul-nurturing pellets and then checked on Ling Wuxin and Ling Wushang. Making sure that they were still alive, Lu Li strode into the cave. After 2 miles, he sat down with his legs crossed. Study. The Wind Cave was absolutely safe. Not even Earth Immortal Realm warriors dared to come in. Lu Li himself was not affected by the feather wind. Therefore, he could cultivate with peace of mind. He had memorized the soul-snatching skill. It was a skill similar to voodoo. First, he had to cultivate the soul seed and then use the soul seed to invade the enemy's soul. Then, the soul seed would take root and take control of the enemy's soul and turn the enemy into his soul slave. What? As soon as Lu Li sat down to cultivate, he felt something was different. The wind cave was indeed a land of treasures. The Xian Qi in heaven and earth was 2 times richer than at the island in the river center. Lu Li's cultivation speed here was like a rocket. Study. Chapter 727. Outside the Wind Cave, an Earth Immortal Realm warrior walked out with Ling Buji's body in one hand and a quasi-relic armor in the other. Jun Mengchen had already left. Seeing the Earth Immortal Realm warrior, Jun Mengchen asked, "Uncle Nine, where are the others?" Uncle Nine shook his head and sighed. "The feather wind in there is too horrifying. I don't dare to go in. This is strange, one of them is at the Noble Lord Realm, and he is not afraid of the feather wind." He took Ling Wushang and the others to the depth of the cave. That Noble Lord Realm warrior? They were surprised. Ling Wushang had a warrior at the initial stage of the Noble Lord Realm with him. Back then, they thought it was strange. They didn't know that the warrior had such a strange ability. "Let's split the mountain open." Jun Mingchen glanced around and took out a quasi-relic axe. "Let's do it together. Let's split the hill. Today I have to break Ling Wushang's limbs. I'll let him know what it's like to wish he was dead." 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors looked at the mountain and shook their heads with a bitter smile. The other 2 young masters and a young lady began to attack in excitement. Boom, 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 the group's terrifying attacks landed on the small mountain. Apart from the dust flying everywhere, the small mountain only trembled slightly. The small mountain was made of black strange stones, which were indestructible. "What?" Jun Mingchen stopped after a while. He said in a deep voice, "There must be some valuable treasures in the cave. Otherwise, the mountain would not be so solid. There is also the horrifying feather wind in there. Maybe the relic weapons and armors are in there. Based on previous experiences, the more dangerous a place is, the more treasures there are." They nodded in agreement. But the feather wind was so horrifying that nobody could go in. What could they do even if they knew the relic weapons and armors were in there? "Uncle 11, I think you know a powerful profound meaning of Earth. Why don't you try and see if you can make this hill collapse? If you can, we can open up the cave bit by bit." Jun Mingchen turned to another Earth Immortal Realm warrior with hope in his eyes. The latter thought about it and waved his hand. Xian Qi in heaven and earth gathered around him. A heavy sword appeared in his hand. The sword gave out a yellowish glow and the blade was getting brighter and brighter. "Hoi!" Uncle 11 swung his heavy sword at the ground, causing the ground to tremble. Next, a massive wave surged up from the ground, causing it to explode layer by layer. The terrifying shock wave radiated towards the small mountain, causing it to tremble violently. There were even stone chips falling from the entrance of the wind cave. Not bad. Everyone's eyes lit up. Although it didn't collapse the hill immediately, it could at least cause it to shake violently. If the attack continued, it was not impossible for the small mountain to collapse. Once the hill collapsed, the rocks within the hill would definitely crack. At that time, any one of them would be able to break open the wind tunnel. Then, they would continue to dig, and sooner or later, they would reach the bottom. "Uncle 11, thank you for your hard work." Jun Mingchen had made up his mind. Even if it would cost him months, he would dig the wind tunnel. He would make Ling Wushang beg for death. Naturally, there was a high possibility that there was a treasure at the bottom of the wind tunnel. This was one of the reasons why Jun Mingchen was so determined. Uncle 11 and Uncle 9 exchanged glances. Seeing that Jun Mingchen had already made up his mind, the 2 of them didn't say anything else. Jun Mingchen was the future leader of the Jun family, even higher than Ling Wushang in the Ling family. Jun Mingchen had given the order. What else could the 2 of them say? Boom, 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 Uncle 11 continued to attack the small mountain. Although the small mountain was made of strange stones, it was still quite powerful. Even though the hill was made of strange rocks, as long as it was not a piece of iron, there would be cracks after a long time of shaking. By then, the hill could be cracked. That being said, judging by how the hill was shaking, it would take at least half a month to collapse the hill completely. What was more, the wind tunnel was meandering downward. If they wanted to dig all the way to where Luli was, it would take at least 2 months. Jun Mingchen had made up his mind. Last time, he was tortured by Leng Wushang in the purgatory of primordial chaos. He was humiliated, and that was the biggest humiliation of his life. This was such a good opportunity. If he didn't get back at Luli and vent his anger, it would become a demon in his heart and affect his cultivation. Only 4 months had passed in the year. There were still 7 months to go. Jun Mingchen decided to spend 3 months here. He would not stop until he could vent his anger. Boom, boom, boom inside the cave, Luli could clearly feel the tremors on the ground. The echoes were loud and deafening. There were stone chips falling down from the sky. Someone is attacking the hill, trying to collapse the cave? Luli opened his eyes and frowned. But he was cautious. Even if the hill were to collapse, it would only affect the 2 miles of stone path. He was underground and the impact would not affect the cave. How hard was the cave? The explosion caused by the Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warrior killing Ling Buji didn't cause much damage to the cave. Luli was relieved. He shut off his senses and went back to cultivation. If enemies were to break in, he would kill Ling Wushang and the others first. As for Ling Wushang and the other 2, Luli was not worried that they would run away. The feather wind was so strong that the 3 of them couldn't even move. They would roll around on the spot and suffer endless pain. Soon, 10 days passed by as Uncle 11 of the Jun family kept attacking. Ling Wushang, Ling Wuxin, and Ling Wumi woke up many times. But soon, they passed out because of the pain. The 3 of them were smart enough to take soul-nurturing pellets as soon as they woke up. In this way, there would be energy to nurture their souls, so that their souls wouldn't collapse after being damaged. When Ling Wuxin woke up, she shouted Lu Li's name. Luli didn't hear her because he shut off his senses. Even if he did, he would pretend not to hear it. Luli was concentrating on the soul-snatching skill. He realized that this was indeed a land of treasures, better than any place he had been to before. He felt he was learning the skill at a fast speed. He felt his mind was clearer and his mind was more flexible. He could understand many things at once. After comprehending for 10 days, he had completely understood the meaning of the soul-snatching secret technique. He then started to condense the soul guide. There were 2 steps to the soul-snatching skill. The first step was to build the soul seed and the second was to plant the soul seed. As long as the 2 steps were successful, the soul seed would take root in the enemy's soul before long if the enemy could not dissolve the soul seed. In the end, the enemy would be completely under Lu Li's control. The building of the soul seed was critical. If Lu Li was not careful, the soul seed could hurt the enemy's soul. Lu Li rested for a while. After checking the situation, he began to concentrate on building the soul seed. It was pitch dark in the cave. Lu Li's head began to glow, glistening like a firefly in the night sky, mysterious and elusive. Boom, 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 deafening rumbling sounds came from the stone path, reverberating endlessly. Gravel fell down, but the feather wind was still blowing, as if it would never stop. A day later, Ling Wuxin woke up. She didn't have the strength to scream anymore. She made up her mind and swallowed some soul-nurturing pellets and energy pellets. She shouted with all her strength, "Lu Li, get out here. If I die, you won't be able to live either. Get out now," her voice echoed in the cave. It was as if Lu Li had vanished from the world. He didn't show up or respond. Finally, there was a glint of fear in Ling Wuxin's eyes. Chapter 728. Feather Wind was already horrifying. The density of the feather wind controlled by Lu Li was much higher. Ling Wuxiang wanted to fight with all his might, but he couldn't move at all. Swish, swish, Lu Li's divine weapon of Dragon King whooshed over and landed on Ling Wuxiang's head. Ling Wuxiang was wearing a quasi-relic armor. That being said, the soul-shattering skill didn't have much effect on him. 50 vibration waves of strength and 30 vibration waves of soul power spread into Ling Wuxiang's soul pond. "No, you cannot kill me," Ling Wuxiang shouted hysterically. From the depth of his soul, he sensed a fatal danger. This was the warning instinct of a powerful warrior. Lu Li was only at the noble lord realm, but he had mastered many miraculous skills. Ling Wuxiang didn't doubt that Lu Li had the ability to kill him since he could even control feather wind. Boom, 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 the vibration waves of strength kept striking at Ling Wuxiang's soul pond. Ling Wuxiang grew up with treasured materials. His soul pond was strong. That being said, his soul pond was much weaker than that of an Earth Immortal Realm warrior. The 50 vibration waves of strength cracked his soul pond. The 30 vibration waves of soul power surged over. As a matter of fact, Ling Wuxiang's soul had been destroyed by the feather wind's soul attack. Buzzing, the moment Ling Wuxiang's soul was destroyed, the white jade talisman on the emerald belt around his waist suddenly exploded. Xian Qi in heaven and earth gathered toward Ling Wuxiang from all directions. An image appeared on the stone path. It was an elegant study where a middle-aged man in a golden robe was sitting like a tiger or a dragon. What? The golden-robed middle-aged man was Leng Tianhen. He suddenly raised his head and made eye contact with Lu Li, who was looking up in surprise through the image in midair. Buzzing. A surge of murderous intent spread out from Leng Tianhen's eyes. It was as if a dragon had opened its eyes. He looked at Ling Wuxiang on the ground and bellowed, "Lu Li? How dare you kill my son, Wuxiang? I will kill you even if the Blood Emperor is here in person. I will grind your bones and scatter your ashes." His voice came from the image. It was real and it was still echoing on the stone path. Even though the man was only using a virtual image, the murderous intent was real. Lu Li felt like he had fallen into an ice cellar. Lu Li didn't know Leng Tianhen. When he was at the Lu family, Leng Tianhen didn't come out to meet him. But Lu Li could tell something from Leng Tianhen's words. The image dissipated in midair. Lu Li murmured, "Prince Stone? Is that the Prince Stone?" "Yes, this is the Prince Stone. My father already knows that you have killed Ling Wuxiang." Ling Wuxian was curled up on the ground, holding her head. Her mouth and face were covered in blood. She was so weak that she felt she could die at any moment. She bit her teeth and said, "Lu Li, when 1 year is up, you will be teleported out automatically. By then, powerful warriors of the Ling family will surround you and kill you. Nobody can save you. If you let me go, I will think of a way for you to escape back to the Inferno." Ling Wuxian had just been attacked by Lu Li with feather wind. She felt her soul could collapse at any moment. But she couldn't worry about anything else other than survival. She knew that if she didn't do something, she would be the next to die. There is such a treasure as the Prince Stone? Lu Li was troubled. When 1 year was up, he would be teleported to the north of the city of Ling in the Central Imperial Universe. There were 3 Earth Immortal Realm warriors in that palace. Now that Ling Tianhen knew about it, there would be more Immortal Realm warriors in the palace. Even if Lu Li were an immortal, he would not be able to escape death. He had thought that he could kill Ling Wuxiang without anyone knowing. He didn't know that Ling Wuxiang had such a miraculous treasure. After Ling Wuxiang's death, Leng Tianhen could see the scene of his death immediately. Leng Tianhen could tell who the enemy was. The Prince Stone must be a piece of treasure that could be used to avenge the death of an important disciple. Let's not worry about that for now. I need to control Ling Wuxian first. Lu Li shook his head and put the matter of Leng Tianhen aside. He put the quasi-relic armor that fell off from Ling Wuxiang into his interspatial ring and then walked toward Ling Wuxian. He held the divine weapon of Dragon King in one hand and was ready to attack with Featherwind with the other. He approached Ling Wuxin slowly. Looking at her face covered in blood, Lu Li said, "Do you want to live? Listen to me and don't move or I will kill you right away." Lu Li's soul pond began to operate. His eyes glowed. 2 rays of white light shot out from his eyes and entered between Ling Wuxin's eyebrows like 2 white snakes. "What is that?" Ling Wuxin was taken aback. She had a bad feeling. A bead in her soul glowed. She was about to create a shield to protect her soul. "Deactivate the shield or I will kill you right away." Lu Li raised his divine weapon of Dragon King and locked onto Ling Wuxin with murderous intent. He raised his saber high and hacked at Ling Wuxin's head. Ling Wuxin saw the saber getting closer and closer to her. She made up her mind and controlled the soul shield to deactivate the shield. The 2 rays of energy from Lu Li surged into Ling Wuxin's soul pond like vipers and then dissipated. They dispersed into strands of invisible energy and entered every corner of Ling Wuxin's soul pond. "What is that?" Ling Wuxin's eyes were filled with terror. She could feel something strange had entered her soul. She could not tell where those things had gone to or what dangers they posed, but she felt there were many insects crawling into her clothes. She trembled and her hair stood on end. "Don't worry. You will find out soon." Lu Li waved his hands and stepped back slowly. He let the feather wind blow to the sides quietly and stopped attacking Ling Wuxin. He sat with his legs crossed 300 feet away, grinned and said, "All right, Lady Wuxin, there is no feather wind attacking you now. You can take care of yourself." The soul seed had been planted, and it would take root and sprout soon. Ling Wuxin could not destroy the soul seed yet. Ling Wuxin would become his soul slave soon. Naturally, he didn't want her to die. That was why he controlled the feather wind to not attack her. That was right. Lu Li could control feather wind. This was a skill he learned by accident when he was in closed-door cultivation not long ago. As a matter of fact, he didn't know how to use it. He just happened to find it in the cave. He learned a profound meaning related to wind from the marks on the branches and leaves of the island in the river center. At first, he thought that the profound meaning was of a low level and could only borrow the force of wind. In the cave, he suddenly remembered something. Wasn't feather wind just wind? Even though it was a special kind of wind, what if he could control it? As it turned out, he released the profound meaning randomly and found that it could really control feather wind. Only then did he realize that this profound meaning was not simple. The average force of wind could not control feather wind. Otherwise, more than half of the warriors in the forbidden ground of Elder God could control feather wind. It was easy for those Earth Immortal Realm warriors to learn an average profound meaning related to wind. That being said, all the Earth Immortal Realm warriors were terrified of feather wind. Therefore, Lu Li could tell that the profound meaning related to wind that he learned was not simple. Feather wind was powerful and the soul attack contained in it was horrifying. Lu Li was invincible, at least in the cave, since he could control feather wind. Chapter 729. On the 22nd day of cultivation in the Wind Cave, the hill outside the Wind Cave suddenly caved in. The 2 miles of stone path outside the Wind Cave caved in. Many cracks appeared on the hill. The Earth Immortal Realm warrior of the June family used his profound meaning of Earth to crack it open. Fortunately, Lu Li and the others were more than 10 miles inside the Wind Cave. The tunnel was winding underground. The collapse did not affect them at all. Blast the boulders away. June Mengchen had been cultivating for more than 20 days. He came as soon as he heard the news. He asked the 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors to blast the boulders away one by one to find the entrance. In this way, the feather wind would not be as strong as before. Boom, 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 streams of light flew out, and the shattered boulders flew away one by one, rolling away. A small hill was soon raised to the ground, and a cave entrance that meandered underground was revealed. There was still feather wind coming out from the entrance, but the space was spacious. The feather wind would disperse soon. The attack was not as strong. The entrance is surrounded by black boulders? They took a look and saw that the entrance was surrounded by black boulders with a radius of at least more than 30 feet. The black boulders were hard. Not even Earth Immortal Realm warriors could destroy them at once. Keep going, Jun Mengchen said to the Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warrior, Uncle 11, blast a hole nearby. If we can do that, we will be able to get to the bottom of the cave sooner or later. A bitter expression appeared on Uncle 11's face. Who knew how deep this hole was? Who knew how deep Luli and the others had gone? What if the cave was hundreds of miles deep? How long would it take? 1 year? 2 years? Boom, boom, they had wasted more than 20 days. The Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warrior had to keep on blasting the ground. Wait, he swung his sword and shouted, we don't have to smash all the boulders. We just need to make the tunnel collapse bit by bit. This will make things easier. The Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warrior took action. First, he blasted out a huge pit in the ground nearby. Then, he blasted out a tunnel along the side of the cave. In this way, it would be more efficient. He only needed to blast one side. As long as he could collapse the cave and clear away the boulders, he would be much faster. Boom, boom. Bit by bit, the cave began to collapse. Another Earth Immortal was responsible for using a divine ability to clear away the rubble, creating a large space in the passageway. In this way, the feather wind would disperse easily and the two would not be attacked by the feather wind. Very good, Uncle 11. Let's do it this way. When we get back, I'll report this to my grandfather, and he'll remember you for your service. Jun Mengchen and the others were currently sitting cross-legged outside the pit, cultivating. When he saw the pit collapsing bit by bit, joy could be seen in his eyes. He could almost see Ling Wushang and the others hiding in the cave, trembling in fear. Ling Wushang and the others weren't frightened. He, Ling Wuxin, and Ling Wumi were on the verge of collapsing. They all had powerful soul protection treasures, but the feather wind was too strong. It kept attacking their souls. It would be strange if a person didn't go crazy from enduring excruciating pain all day long. Ling Wumi hadn't woken up for a long time. She was so weak that she could barely breathe. She could die at any time. Ling Wuxin and Ling Wushang were faring better, but they couldn't hold on much longer. If Luli didn't do anything, their souls would collapse in 10 days or half a month at most. Luli didn't come out. He had been studying the soul seed in the cave. The cave was still buzzing. He didn't care about anything else. He was focused on studying the soul-snatching skill. Another 5 days passed. 2 miles of the cave entrance had been destroyed. The 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors were fast in destroying the tunnel. The 2 dug 2 tunnels along the stone path. Along the way, the stone path collapsed bit by bit and then they would clear away the boulders. It was an efficient way. The other Earth Immortal Realm warrior was fine. He began to dig more tunnels to divert the feather wind away. If the feather wind came to this tunnel, they would go to another tunnel to bombard the stone path. Ling Wuxin woke up again. She couldn't talk anymore. All she could do was gasp for air. Her pretty face was twisted. She was in so much pain that she was sweating. In her eyes, she had lost all hope. She couldn't even move a finger, let alone run away. Her mind was filled with questions. Where had Luli gone? Did he not care about her? Was he really not afraid of death? The Walking Dead poison was an ancient poison. Less than 3 people in the entire Earth Imperial Universe could detoxify it. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Right at that moment, she heard some footsteps coming from the depths of the tunnel. A man in black walked out like a ghost. He stood in front of Ling Wuxin. He lit up the tunnel with Xian energy. Luli! Ling Wuxin blinked. She was overjoyed. She thought she was hallucinating. She moved her mouth and wagged her tongue. She only came back to her senses when she felt the sting on her tongue. She shouted angrily, "Lu Li, you bastard! Where have you been? You don't want the antidote anymore, do you?" Lu Li didn't pay attention to her. He glanced over to Ling Wumi and Ling Wushang. To his surprise, Ling Wumi was dead. There was no sign of life from her. Her soul must have collapsed because she could not stand the strong feather wind. Alas, Lu Li sighed, but he didn't feel sorry for her. For him, everyone in the Ling family was his enemy. He wouldn't feel guilty even if he killed them himself, let alone killed by the feather wind. Seeing that Lu Li didn't say anything, Ling Wuxin was angrier. She said while clenching her teeth, "Lu Li, do you think you have control over our lives? Fine, just kill me. You'll be buried with me anyway. Don't let me go out alive. I will make you wish you were dead." Before Ling Wuxin could finish her sentence, Lu Li had lifted his leg and kicked at her chest. The red quasi-relic armor on her emerged to protect her from the kick. Lu Li lifted his leg again. His Xian energy glistened. This time, he used the soul-shattering skill and stomped at her chest. 50 strands of energy were sent in. Many of Ling Wuxin's ribs were broken and her internal organs were torn. She spat out a mouthful of blood. Buzzing. Ling Wuxin released force field. The bloodline mark on her neck glowed. A lotus was about to come out. She was at the human sovereign realm. To her, Lu Li was no different from an ant. How could he treat her like this? How could she not be angry? She was ready to kill him even at the cost of her life. Ha ha, Lu Li sneered. Before he released force field, he waved his hands quickly. His hands were moving in a regular pattern, like two catkins swaying in the wind. There seemed to be some mysterious marks of nature's rhythm in his hands. It was more like, when the feather wind blew past, the branches and leaves on the island in the middle of the river were swaying in a regular pattern. Ah! As Lu Li waved his hands, something miraculous happened. The feather wind from all sides was stirred up. Like an invisible dragon, Ling Wuxin whooshed toward him. The horrifying soul attack invaded Ling Wuxin's soul. She couldn't stand it anymore and rolled around on the ground. She was about to release force field and bloodline skill, but she had to stop halfway. "You can control feather wind?" Ling Wushang came back to his senses. He looked at Lu Li in shock and disbelief. How could feather wind be controlled? Lu Li threw him a cold glance. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. Ling Wushang came back to his senses and shouted, "Lu Li, what are you doing? I have Prince Stone with me. If you dare to kill me, my father and the patriarchs of our family will know right away." Lu Li snorted. Without saying anything, he waved his hands. The feather wind nearby was under his control. The feather wind surged toward Ling Wushang like an invisible dragon. He took out his divine weapon of Dragon King and hacked at Ling Wushang's head. P.S. Recommendation votes can increase your fan points and upgrade your account. Recommendation votes are available every day. They are free. You can vote for them every day after you finish reading them. Tomorrow, there will be a picture of Ling Wuxin posted on the official account. She looks like her. You can search for Night of the Wicked on the official account. Students who are new followers can check historical information, pictures and information about the characters in the past. There are also statistics about the settings of the Eternal Realm and historical information. These will be updated in the future. Chapter 730. Taking control of a quasi-relic was hard. It was thanks to Ling Wuxin's advice that Lu Li's efficiency was improved. It took Lu Li 5 days. Boom, boom, boom once again. The path outside collapsed for thousands of feet. Lu Li could faintly see the light from the outside even though they were sitting there with their legs crossed. Ling Wuxin was worried, but Lu Li didn't mind. He didn't move. The quasi-relic armor in his hand glowed, and the quasi-relic went into his body automatically. Buzzing. Luli used his mind. A white armor emerged over his body, covering him up except for his eyes. He moved around and realized that his movements were not restricted. He thought to himself that quasi-relic was a good thing. Do Ling Wushang, Ling Wushuang, and Ling Tianba have quasi-relic weapons? Luli didn't bother to go through the interspatial rings. He asked Ling Wuxin directly. She shook her head and said, no. Given their abilities and status, they are not qualified to have quasi-relic weapons. Only when Wushang becomes the crown prince will he be given one by his family. Okay. Luli was not in the mood to take control of Ling Wushuang, Ling Tianba, and Ling Wushang's weapons. They were all holy grade Xian artifacts with similar powers. The divine weapon of Dragon King was quite handy. Ling Wuxin was much better after several days of rest. She thought about it and said, in Wushang's soul pond, there is a quasi-relic for soul protection. My father gave it to him when he reached the human sovereign realm. Luli smashed at Ling Wushang's head with one hand and cracked it open. A bead flew out. The bead was flowing and some mysterious runes were glistening. It was indeed a quasi-relic. Buzzing. Ling Wushang's body was smelly. Luli put his and Ling Wumi's bodies into his interspatial ring. He put away the bead as well. He didn't need the soul protection. He would leave it to Lu Ling and the others. Let's go and meet the Jun family, Luli said to Ling Wuxin coldly and walked out. Ling Wuxin followed Luli closely because Feather Wind wouldn't be attacked when she was with Luli. There was no feather wind in an area with a radius of several feet around Luli. He was getting better at controlling feather wind. Boom, 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 the two Earth Immortal Realm warriors were still attacking the tunnel while Jun Mengchen was cultivating about 1,000 feet behind them. The two Earth Immortal Realm warriors were having a good time. The cave had collapsed for several miles. They planned to go all the way to the bottom of the cave. While killing Luli and the others, they could also see if there were any treasures. Luli and Ling Wuxin walked out of the cave with light step. They stopped when they were about 1,000 feet away from the two Earth Immortal Realm warriors. It was dark in the cave and psychic power could not be used. Therefore, the Earth Immortal Realm warriors outside could not see them. This should be enough. Luli's eyes flickered. He waved his hands to gather the feather wind around. Ling Wuxin sensed that the feather wind was getting stronger. She hid behind Luli in fright. If she were to be attacked by such horrifying feather wind, her soul would crumble before she could recover from the injury. Go, Luli shouted. The feather wind formed into 5 invisible dragons and whooshed out. Since the feather wind was so thick, the noise was loud and ear-piercing. What? Uncle 11 of the Jun family was alarmed. He looked in with suspicion and murmured, "What is that noise?" The other Earth Immortal Realm warrior came back to his senses. He turned around and shouted, "Mengchen, leave now." Jun Mengchen and the others were cultivating. They all opened their eyes when they heard the Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warriors shout. Jun Mengchen asked, "What is it?" Uncle 9. The Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warrior was about to explain when the 5 dragons of wind whooshed out and dashed toward Uncle 11 and Uncle 9. The dragons were fast. The strange noise from the feather wind was so harsh that it hurt their eardrums. Feather wind? Retreat. Uncle 11's eyes were wide open. He wanted to step back in fear. However, the feather wind was fast, even faster than them. The feather wind swept over and enveloped them. The two Earth Immortal Realm warriors hugged their heads and rolled on the ground. What happened next terrified them. The 5 dragons of wind didn't whooshing out. Instead, they were hovering around them and attacking their souls with horrifying soul attack. The attack of the feather wind was much more powerful than the one in the area where Ling Wushuang and Ling Buji were. How could the two Earth Immortal Realm warriors withstand it? Soon, the two were rolling on the ground with their heads in their hand. They screamed and were about to pass out. Uncle 9, Uncle 11. Jun Mingchen and the other three turned pale. They wanted to save the two, but they didn't have the courage to go closer. They couldn't leave either. All they could do was to shout anxiously. A young lady of the Jun family was scared. She pulled Jun Mingchen's sleeve and said, "Brother Mingchen, let's get out of here. It's too dangerous here." The other two young masters nodded in agreement. Even the Earth Immortal Realm warriors couldn't withstand the feather wind. They would die for sure if the feather wind came. Jun Mingchen made up his mind and waved his hand. "Leave now. I will stay here and see if I can save Uncle 11 and Uncle 9. Jun Mingchen didn't want to leave, but the other three couldn't. Strangely enough, the feather wind didn't blow over. The feather wind had been hovering around the two Earth Immortal Realm warriors. They were safe for now. "Ah!" The two Earth Immortal Realm warriors cried and rolled on the ground for a while. Uncle 11 was the first one to pass out. The other one rolled on the ground for a while before he passed out and stopped moving. Luli looked on indifferently. He didn't go out at once. After the time for a dozen breaths and making sure that the two Earth Immortal Realm warriors were not moving, Luli strode out and stood at the entrance of the destroyed cave. "Young masters and young ladies of the Jun family, hello," Luli said with a smile. Due to the dim light, Jun Mingchen and the others could not see clearly. They could only make out two blurry figures. "Someone is here!" Jun Mingchen screamed. This time around, he didn't hesitate at all. He immediately dashed out. But what Luli said next stopped him. "You are Jun Mingchen, right? If the two Earth Immortal Realm warriors of your family die, do you think you can survive outside? The Jun family has no enemies outside. But if you run into Earth Immortal Realm warriors, you will still die." Swish, swish, swish. Jun Mingchen and the others were taken aback. Luli was right. The Jun family had many enemies. Without the protection of Earth Immortal Realm warriors, the Jun family would still be doomed. Jun Mingchen sensed that Luli's voice was unfamiliar. He had a wild hope. "Who are you? How can I let my Uncle 9 and Uncle 11 go? Name your terms." "Smart." Luli grinned. He waved his hands. 4 of the 5 dragons of wind surrounding the two Earth Immortal Realm warriors came out and dashed toward Jun Mingchen and the others. Luli laughed and said, "My terms are simple. You will all become my soul slaves." The 4 dragons of wind whooshed on faster than the two Earth Immortal Realm warriors. They covered the distance of 1 mile in a blink. By the time Jun Mingchen and the others tried to run, it was already too late. As soon as the dragons of wind passed by, the 4 Earth Immortal Realm warriors hugged their heads and rolled around. Soon they passed out. Standing next to the 2 fainted Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warriors, Luli looked back at Leng Wuxin with a smile and said, "Leng Wuxin, what if I turn all the disciples of the major families in the forbidden ground of Elder God into my soul slaves? Then, I can threaten the other families to join forces to attack the Leng family. When the Leng family is destroyed, will I have a way out?" Leng Wuxin trembled. She looked at Luli in terror and said in a trembling voice, "Luli, you are a devil. P.S. Those who vote for me every day are good students." Chapter 731. Feather Wind was already horrifying. The density of the feather wind controlled by Luli was many times higher. Leng Wushang wanted to launch a desperate attack, but he couldn't move at all. Chi Luli's divine weapon of Dragon King whooshed over and landed on Leng Wushang's head. Leng Wushang was wearing a quasi-relic armor. However, it didn't affect the soul-shattering secret skill much. 50 vibration waves of strength and 30 vibration waves of soul power spread into Leng Wushang's soul pond. "No, you can't kill me," Leng Wushang roared hysterically. He sensed a fatal danger from the deepest part of his soul. It was the instinctive warning of a powerful cultivator. Luli was only at the Noble Lord realm, but he had many miraculous skills. Ling Wushang didn't doubt that Lu Li had the ability to kill him since he could even control feather wind. Boom, 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 waves and waves of energy kept striking at Ling Wushang's soul pond. Ling Wushang had grown up with precious materials, so his soul pond was very strong. However, his soul pond was much weaker than that of an Earth Immortal Realm warrior. His soul pond was shattered by the 50 vibration waves. 30 waves of soul vibration waves surged over. As a matter of fact, the soul vibration wave attack was unnecessary, because the soul attack of the feather wind had already destroyed Ling Wushang's soul. The moment Ling Wushang's soul was destroyed, the white jade talisman on his belt suddenly exploded. Xian Qi in heaven and earth gathered toward him from all directions. An image appeared on the stone path. It was an elegant study, and a golden-robed middle-aged man was sitting there like a tiger or a dragon. The golden-robed middle-aged man was Leng Tianhen. He suddenly raised his head and made eye contact with Lu Li through the image in the air. Buzz! Killing intent spread out from Ling Tianhen's eyes. It was as if a dragon had opened its eyes. Ling Tianhen glanced at Ling Wushang on the ground and bellowed, "Lu Li? You actually dared to kill my son Wushang? This time, even if the Blood Emperor comes personally, this Emperor will kill you and turn your bones into dust." The voice came from the image. It was incomparably real, and the voice was still echoing in the stone path. Even though that man was just a shadow, the murderous intent was so real that Lu Li felt as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. Lu Li did not know Ling Tianhen. When Lu Li was at the Lu family, Ling Tianhen never came out to meet him. However, Lu Li could figure out something from his words. The image slowly dissipated in midair. Lu Li's eyes flickered and he murmured, "Prince Stone? Could this be an impression stone?" "Yes, this is the Prince Stone. My father already knows that you killed Ling Wushang." Ling Wuxin was curled up on the ground, hugging her head. Her mouth and face were covered in blood. She was so weak that she thought she could die at any moment. She bit her teeth and said, "Lu Li, when 1 year is up, you will be teleported out automatically. At that time, the experts of the Lung clan will surround and kill you, and no one will be able to save you. If you let me go, I'll help you think of a way to escape back to the Inferno prison." Just now, Lung Wuxin was attacked by Lu Li with feather wind. She felt her soul could collapse at any moment. But she couldn't worry about anything else. All she wanted was to survive. She knew that if she didn't do something, she would be the next to die. There is such a treasure as Prince Stone? Lu Li was troubled. When 1 year was up, he would be teleported to the north of the city of Lung in the Central Imperial Universe. There were 3 Earth Immortal Realm warriors in that palace. Now that Ling Tianhen knew about it, there would be more Immortal Realm warriors in the palace. Lu Li wouldn't be able to escape death even if he were an immortal. He thought that he could kill Ling Wushang without anyone knowing. He didn't know that Ling Wushang had such a miraculous treasure. After Ling Wushang's death, Ling Tianhen could see the scene before his death and could tell who the enemy was. The Prince Stone must be a piece of treasure that could be used to avenge the death of an important disciple. Let's not worry about that for now. I need to control Ling Wuxin first. Lu Li shook his head and put the matter of Ling Tianhen aside. He put the quasi-relic armor that fell off from Ling Wushang into his interspatial ring and then walked over to Ling Wuxin. He held the divine weapon of Dragon King in one hand and was ready to attack with feather wind with the other. He approached Ling Wuxin slowly. Looking at her face covered in blood, Lu Li said, "Do you want to live? Listen to me and don't move or I will kill you right away." Lu Li's soul pond began to operate. His eyes glowed. 2 rays of white light shot out from his eyes and surged into between Ling Wuxin's eyebrows like 2 white snakes. "What is that?" Ling Wuxin was taken aback. She had a bad feeling. A bead in her soul glowed as she was about to create a shield to protect her soul. "Deactivate the shield or I will kill you right away." Lu Li raised his divine weapon of Dragon King and locked onto Ling Wuxin with murderous intent. He raised his saber high and hacked at Ling Wuxin's head. Ling Wuxin saw that the saber was getting closer and closer to her. She made up her mind and controlled the shield to deactivate it. The two rays of energy from Lu Li surged into Ling Wuxin's soul pond like vipers and then dissipated. They dispersed into strands of invisible energy and entered every corner of Ling Wuxin's soul pond. What is that? Ling Wuxin's eyes were filled with terror. She could feel that something strange had entered her soul. She could not tell where those things had gone to or what dangers they posed. That being said, she felt there were many insects crawling into her clothes. She trembled and her hair stood on end. Don't worry. You will find out soon. Lu Li waved his hands and stepped back slowly. He controlled the feather wind to blow to the sides quietly and stopped attacking Ling Wuxin. He sat with his legs crossed 300 feet away, grinned and said, "All right, Lady Wuxin, there is no feather wind attacking you now. You can take care of yourself." The soul seed had been planted, and it would take root and sprout soon. Ling Wuxin could not destroy the soul seed yet. Therefore, Ling Wuxin would become his soul slave soon. Naturally, he didn't want her to die. That was why he controlled the feather wind to not attack her. That was right. Lu Li could control feather wind. This was a skill he learned by accident when he was in closed-door cultivation not long ago. As a matter of fact, he didn't know how to use it. He just happened to find it in the cave. He learned a profound meaning related to wind from the marks on the branches and leaves of the island in the river center. At first, he had thought that the profound meaning was of a low level and could only borrow the force of wind. In the cave, he suddenly remembered something. Wasn't feather wind just wind? It was a special kind of wind. But what if he could control it? As it turned out, he released the profound meaning casually and found that it could really control feather wind. Only then did he realize that this profound meaning was not as simple as it seemed. An average force of wind would not be able to control feather wind. Otherwise, more than half of the warriors in the forbidden ground of Elder God would be able to do so. For those Earth Immortal Realm warriors, it was easy for them to learn a profound meaning related to wind. That being said, all the Earth Immortal Realm warriors were terrified of feather wind. Therefore, Lu Li could tell that the profound meaning related to wind he learned was not as simple as it seemed. Feather wind was powerful and the soul attack contained in it was horrifying. Lu Li was invincible, at least in the cave, since he could control feather wind. Chapter 732. Lu Li was surrounded by feather wind. He was 300 feet away from Ling Wuxin. He was not afraid even if Ling Wuxin wanted to kill him. He sat with his legs crossed and tried to sense Ling Wuxin's soul through the spiritual connection with the soul seed. The feather wind around Ling Wuxin stopped. She collapsed on the ground, gasping for air as if she had been weakened. She reached out one hand, took out several top-level soul-nurturing pellets, and swallowed them. Then, she sat up and began to cultivate. Tens of thousands of strands of energy from the soul seed began to absorb the soul energy in Ling Wuxin's soul pond, growing stronger and merging with her soul at the same time. Once the integration was complete, not even an immortal could save Ling Wuxin unless Lu Li took back the soul seed. Ling Wuxin didn't sense any danger. She only felt something strange had entered her soul, but she didn't know what it was. The soul seed was divided into strands of energy that not even psychic power could detect. It was the same as the soul energy in Ling Wuxin's soul pond. That was the horror of the soul-snatching skill. Ling Wuxin sat down and rested for a while. Then, she began to use psychic power to check her soul pond. She had a feeling that there were many bugs crawling into her soul pond, and they were gnawing at her soul pond silently. Soon, she realized something. She sensed that her soul pond was filled with a kind of soul energy that she couldn't control. The strange energy was merging with the soul energy in her soul pond and growing. It seemed to be taking over her entire soul. What the hell is this? She trembled in fear. She tried to use soul energy to drive away the strange energy. However, the energy was wandering around her soul pond like vipers. There were too many of them to count. What could she do? Could she explode her soul pond? Oh no. Leng Wuxin was frightened. She had an inkling of what was going on. Soon, the strange energy would take over her soul and dominate it. In other words, Luli could control her soul at any time. She could even walk out naked, and she wouldn't be able to resist. Die. Leng Wuxin had two choices. She could either die by exploding her soul pond or become Lu Li's slave and be controlled by him for the rest of her life. Leng Wuxin was struggling inside. A girl's heart was always indecisive. She did not dare to make up her mind to die at the critical moment. She thought that Lu Li would be killed when he got out. Once Lu Li died, the Ling family might try to save her. Therefore, she could not make up her mind. While she was hesitating, the soul seed in her soul pond had sprouted. It occupied most of her soul pond and controlled her soul. At that moment, she felt a spiritual connection with Lu Li. Very good. Lu Li grinned. He realized that he had established a spiritual connection with Leng Wuxin. He could control her soul now. He ordered her mentally, "Untie your dress." Leng Wuxin's blood-covered face was filled with shame, yet she was unable to control her soul. Her hands reached toward the buttons on her blouse. One by one, the buttons were undone, revealing her white collarbone. Alright. Lu Li didn't intend to violate her. He just wanted to see if he could control her. He grinned and ordered in his mind, "Alright, let's heal first." Lu Li controlled the feather wind so that Leng Wuxin's soul wouldn't be affected. That being said, her soul was seriously wounded. It would take some time for her to recover. She sat down to meditate to heal herself. Lu Li sat with his legs crossed and began to think about what to do next. There was still more than half a year to go. In half a year, he would be teleported to the castle in the mountain to the north of the city of Leng. By then, powerful warriors of the Ling family would be gathered here. He would not be able to escape. Even if Leng Wuxin's life was in his hands, the Ling family wouldn't have any scruples. In a big family, a girl was a commodity. Ling Wuxiang was the future crown prince. How could the Ling family compromise for Leng Wuxin? What should I do? Lu Li thought about it and realized that this was another obstacle that he could not overcome. He seemed to be in a hopeless situation again. He had been thinking for an entire day without finding a way out. No matter what the plan was, the powerful warriors of the Ling family had absolute power. Not even the Blood Emperor could defeat them. Lu Li was troubled. If he had known, he wouldn't have killed Leng Wuxiang. He should have just left him in the wind cave to fend for himself. What was done was done. There was no point in regretting. Lu Li checked Leng Wuxin's soul and noticed that her wounds had recovered a bit. He woke her up and asked, "Leng Wuxin, what is the Prince Stone about?" Leng Wuxin opened her eyes. She shook her head with a bitter smile and said, "That is a piece of treasure. Only those with a high status in a superfamily can have it. Father already knows that you have killed Wuxiang. There is no turning back. Once you go out, you will die for sure." Lu Li frowned and asked, "There is no other way? We can't teleport to other places? When the time is up, we must be teleported to the Central Imperial Universe." "Yes." Leng Wuxin answered with a straight face, "We will be teleported to where we came from. This cannot be changed." "Then can we not be teleported out?" Lu Li thought of a possibility. Leng Wuxin shook her head and said, "Of course not. This is an automatic teleportation in the Forbidden Ground of Elder God, unless you can change the inhibition formation in the Forbidden Ground. Think of a way." Lu Li said with hatred, "If I can't think of a way, I will kill you before we are teleported out." Leng Wuxin didn't dare to talk back. All she could do was remain silent. What else could she do? In the mountain to the north of the city of Ling, there must be at least 10 Earth Immortal Realm warriors of the Ling family. Not even the Blood Emperor could save Lu Li. Blood Emperor? Thinking of him, Ling Wuxin had an idea. She said, Lu Li, don't you have the token of the Blood Emperor? Try to crush the Blood Emperor token and see if you can contact the Blood Emperor. If the Blood Emperor is willing to save you, perhaps you might have a chance of survival. Lu Li didn't take out the token of the Blood Emperor impulsively. He thought about it and decided to figure out a way first. If there was really no other way in the last month, he could only try to crush the Blood Emperor token. Changing the restrictions in the forbidden ground of Elder God? Lu Li thought of this possibility. If he could change the inhibition formations, he might be able to teleport to another universe and then escape to the purgatory of primordial chaos. Apart from Ling Wuxin, nobody knew that he was from the Heaven Reverse universe under the Inferno. As long as the Ling family could return to the Heaven Reverse universe, it was not as if the Ling family could go to the Heaven Reverse universe. They could just destroy the passage connecting the deserted world and the Inferno. How can I change the inhibition formations in the forbidden ground of Elder God? This seemed to be more difficult than escaping from the attack of the Ling family. The entire forbidden ground of Elder God was created by Emperor Hung. How could an inhibition formation built by an immortal be changed so easily? Unless he could find the core that controlled the forbidden ground of Elder God. Boom, 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 the noise from the entrance of the cave startled Lu Li from his thoughts. He had been woken up many times before, but he didn't pay much attention to it. At the moment, he sensed that the people digging at the entrance of the cave were getting closer. They were less than 2 miles away from here. Killing intent rose in Lu Li's eyes. He could control Feather Wind, so he was not afraid of the 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors. The fact that the June family was pursuing them relentlessly and vowed to kill them had infuriated Lu Li. Buzzing. Chapter 733. Taking control of a quasi-relic was not easy. It was thanks to Ling Wuxin's guidance that Lu Li's efficiency was improved. It took Lu Li 5 days. Boom, boom, boom once again. The path outside collapsed for thousands of feet. Lu Li could faintly see the light from the outside even though they were sitting there with their legs crossed. Ling Wuxin was worried but Lu Li didn't mind. He didn't move. The quasi-relic armor in his hand glowed, and the quasi-relic went into his body automatically. Buzzing. Lu Li used his mind and a white armor automatically appeared around him, covering his entire body except for his eyes. He moved around and realized that his movements were not restricted. He thought to himself that quasi-relic was good stuff. Do Ling Wushang, Ling Wushuang, and Ling Tianba have quasi-relic weapons? Lu Li didn't bother to check the interspatial rings. He asked Ling Wuxin directly. She shook her head and said, no. Given their abilities and status, they are not qualified to have quasi-relic weapons. Only when Wushang becomes the crown prince will he be given one by his family. Okay. Lu Li was not in the mood to take control of Ling Wushuang, Ling Tianba, and Ling Wushang's weapons. They were all holy grade Xian artifacts with similar powers. The divine weapon of Dragon King was quite handy. After resting for a few days, Ling Wuxin's spirit, qi, and spirit seemed to be much better. She thought for a moment and said, there is a quasi-relic soul defense treasure in Wushang's soul pond. My father gave it to him when he broke through to the human sovereign realm. Lu Li smashed at Ling Wushang's head and cracked it open. A bead flew out. The bead was flowing and some mysterious runes were glowing. It was indeed a quasi-relic. Buzzing. Ling Wushang's body was smelly. Lu Li put his and Ling Wumi's bodies into his interspatial ring. He put away the bead as well. He didn't need the soul protection treasure. He would leave it for Lu Ling and the others. Let's go and meet the June family, Lu Li said to Ling Wuxin coldly and walked out. Ling Wuxin followed him closely because Feather Wind wouldn't be attacked when she was with Lu Li. There was no Feather Wind within a radius of several feet around Lu Li. He was getting better at controlling it. Boom, boom, boom outside, the two earthen immortals were still attacking the stone passageway while Jun Mengchen sat down cross-legged, cultivating himself 1,000 meters behind them. The two Earth Immortal Realm warriors were having a great time. The cave had collapsed for several miles. They planned to go all the way to the bottom of the cave. While killing Lu Li and the others, they could also see if there were any treasures. Lu Li and Ling Wuxin walked out of the cave with light step. They stopped when they were 1,000 feet away from the two Earth Immortal Realm warriors. Due to the pitch-black darkness in the stone cave and the inability to use divine telekinesis, the Earth Immortals outside were unable to detect the two of them. "It's about time." Lu Li's eyes flickered. He waved his hands to gather the feather wind around. Sensing that the feather wind was getting stronger, Ling Wuxin hid behind Lu Li in fright. If she was attacked by such a horrifying feather wind, her soul would collapse before it could recover. "Go!" Lu Li shouted. The feather wind formed into 5 invisible dragons and whooshed out. Since the feather wind was so thick, the noise was loud and ear-piercing. "What?" Uncle 11 of the Jun family was alarmed. He looked in with suspicion and murmured, "What is that noise?" The other Earth Immortal Realm warrior came back to his senses. He turned around and shouted, "Mengchen, leave now." Jun Mengchen and the others were cultivating. Hearing the Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warriors shout, they all opened their eyes. Jun Mengchen asked with confusion, "What is it, Uncle 9? The Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warrior was about to explain when the 5 dragons of wind whooshed out and dashed toward Uncle 11 and Uncle 9. The dragons were fast. The strange noise from the feather wind was so harsh that it hurt their eardrums. Feather wind? Retreat. Uncle 11's eyes were wide open. He wanted to step back in fear. However, the feather wind was so fast, even faster than them. The feather wind swept over and enveloped them. The two Earth Immortal Realm warriors rolled on the ground with their heads in their hands. What happened next terrified them. The 5 dragons of feather wind didn't whooshing out. Instead, they hovered around the two Earth Immortal Realm warriors and kept attacking their souls with horrible soul attack. The power of the feather wind was much stronger than the area where Ling Wushuang and Ling Buji were. How could the two Earth Immortal Realm warriors withstand it? Soon, the two Earth Immortal Realm warriors were rolling on the ground with their heads in their hand. They screamed and were about to pass out. Uncle 9, Uncle 11, Jun Mengchen and the other 3 Earth Immortal Realm warriors turned pale. They wanted to save the two Earth Immortal Realm warriors, but they didn't have the courage to go closer. They couldn't leave either. All they could do was shout anxiously. A young lady of the Jun family was scared. She pulled Jun Mengchen's sleeve and said, "Brother Mengchen, let's leave. It's too dangerous here." The other 2 young masters nodded in agreement. Even the Earth Immortal Realm warriors couldn't withstand the feather wind. If the feather wind came, they would die for sure. Jun Mengchen made up his mind and waved his hand, "Leave now. I will see if I can save Uncle 11 and Uncle 9. If Jun Mengchen didn't leave, the other 3 Earth Immortal Realm warriors wouldn't be able to leave. What was more, the feather wind didn't blow over. The feather wind had been hovering around the two Earth Immortal Realm warriors. They were safe for now. "Ah!" The two Earth Immortal Realm warriors cried and rolled on the ground for a while. Uncle 11 was the first one to pass out. The other one rolled on the ground and passed out. Lu Li looked on indifferently. He didn't go out at once. After the time for a dozen breaths and making sure that the two Earth Immortal Realm warriors were not moving, Lu Li strode out and stood at the entrance of the destroyed cave. "Young masters and young ladies of the Jun family, hello," Lu Li said with a smile. It was too dark for Jun Mengchen and the others to see clearly. They could only make out 2 blurry figures. Someone is here! Jun Mingchen yelled. This time, he didn't hesitate. He was about to rush out. But what Lu Li said next stopped him. You are Jun Mingchen, right? If the 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors of your family die, do you think you can survive outside? The Jun family has no enemies outside. But if you run into Earth Immortal Realm warriors, you will still die. Swish, swish, swish. Jun Mingchen and the others were taken aback. Lu Li was right. The Jun family had many enemies. Without the protection of Earth Immortal Realm warriors, the Jun family would still be doomed. Jun Mingchen sensed that Lu Li's voice was unfamiliar. He had a wild hope. He asked, Who are you? How can I let my Uncle 9 and Uncle 11 go? Name your terms. Smart. Lu Li grinned. He waved his hands. 4 of the 5 dragons of wind around the 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors dashed toward Jun Mingchen and the others. Lu Li laughed and said, My terms are simple. You will all become my soul slaves. The 4 dragons of wind whooshed on faster than the 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors. They covered the distance of 1 mile in a blink. It was too late for Jun Mingchen and the others to run. As soon as the dragons of wind passed by, the 4 Earth Immortal Realm warriors rolled on the ground with their heads in their hands and passed out. Standing next to the 2 fainted Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warriors, Lu Li looked back at Leng Wuxin with a smile and said, Leng Wuxin, what if I turn all the disciples of the major families in the forbidden ground of Elder God into my soul slaves? Then, I can threaten the other families to attack the Leng family. When the Leng family is destroyed, does that mean I can survive? Leng Wuxin trembled. She stared at Lu Li in fear. She said in a trembling voice, Lu Li, you are a demon. P.S. Those who vote for me every day are good students. Chapter 734. For Lu Li, the destruction of the Ling family had nothing to do with him. Even if the Central Imperial Universe were to be attacked by other universes, he would just enjoy the show. He was from the Heaven Reverse Universe. It was none of his business whether the other universes were fighting to the death. All he cared about was his own life. In order to survive, he would do anything. Leng Wuxin's slap had woken him up. He was now fully aware that he was dancing on the tip of a knife. If he was not careful, he would be smashed into pieces. Therefore, he must put away his mercy and be as cruel and merciless as Lu Ling. As long as he could survive, he could use any method and kill anyone. However, this was just Lu Li's initial idea. It wasn't guaranteed to work. After all, the Lung family was a great family with millions of years of history. It was impossible for the other families to recklessly declare war on the Lung family just because of a single disciple. The crux of the matter now was how many disciples from the various families he could take down. If they could take down more than a dozen disciples from the big clans, they might have the guts to start a war with the Lung family when they united, and they would take the opportunity to rob the Lung family. The benefits of robbing a super-large family were astonishing. Presumably, many large families would be willing to do it. Hee. All of a sudden, Leng Wuxin burst into laughter as if she had figured something out. She said, Lu Li, your plan is crazy, but it is hard to carry it out. Lu Li looked at him and asked, Why? Tell me about it. Leng Wuxin explained, First of all, it's impossible for the clans to start a war over a single disciple. Secondly, the only way to invade the Central Imperial Universe was through the Purgatory of Primordial Chaos. The Purgatory of Primal Chaos is at the center of the world. Every realm is connected to the Purgatory of Primal Chaos. Apart from that, there are no other passageways. Once the passageway to the Purgatory of Primordial Chaos is closed, no family will be able to enter the Central Imperial Universe. Thirdly, the Lung family had a secret escape route that could transfer all the disciples in a short period of time. Besides, even if the families conquered the city of Ling, would you be safe? What if they're all waiting for you outside? Won't you still die if you go out? Ling Wuxin had long been disheartened by the Ling family. But she was born in the Ling family after all. As a daughter of the Ling family, she didn't want her family to be destroyed. Lu Li thought about it and agreed with Ling Wuxin. But he still had to do it. This was the only way he could survive. He paid no more attention to Ling Wuxin. 4 beams of white light flashed between his eyebrows and shot toward the 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors of the Jun family. Earth Immortal Realm soul slaves were a great help. With 2 Earth Immortal Realm soul slaves, Lu Li would be much safer in the forbidden ground of Elder God. The 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors had passed out. At the moment, Lu Li controlled 3 more dragons of wind to attack the 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors' souls to prevent them from killing. Release your bloodline divine skill. Lu Li didn't think it was safe. He asked Ling Wuxin to release a lotus and the 2 of them were wrapped up. Lu Li immersed himself in the soul seed and began to probe the souls of the 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors. Last time, Lu Li made more than a dozen soul seeds. He sent 2 soul seeds into the 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors' souls. The 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors passed out. However, there were defensive treasures outside their soul ponds that prevented the soul seeds from entering. Open the lotus flower and wrap it up immediately. Lu Li took out his divine weapon of Dragon King and smashed at the head of an Earth Immortal Realm warrior of the Jun family the moment the lotus bloomed. When he put away the divine weapon of Dragon King, Ling Wuxin closed the lotus flower at once. Lu Li didn't attack the soul pond of the Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warrior. Instead, he used the vibration waves to attack the bead above the soul pond. Boom! 50 stacks of strength shock waves radiated in, and the bead was easily shattered. 2 soul seeds went into the soul pond of the Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warrior like vipers. As soon as the 2 soul seeds entered the soul pond, they spread out like dragons diving into the sea. The soul seeds began to sprout and devour the soul energy of the Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warrior. It's done. Lu Li was relieved to find out what was going on inside the soul pond of the Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warrior through the spiritual connection with the soul seeds. The Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warrior's soul was in a mess. The soul seeds were devouring fast. In the time for half an incense stick to burn, the Earth Immortal Realm warrior would be taken down. Lu Li didn't rush to attack the second Earth Immortal Realm warrior. Safety came first. There was no need to rush. Earth Immortal Realm warriors were too powerful. One careless move and he would be doomed eternally. After the time for half an incense stick to burn, Lu Li established a spiritual connection with the Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warrior. He was cheered up. He winked at Ling Wuxin, who opened the petals. Lu Li hacked at the head of the second Earth Immortal Realm warrior with his divine weapon of Dragon King. Boom! The soul protection bead inside the soul pond exploded and the soul seeds invaded. However, right at that moment the Earth Immortal Realm warrior woke up. His eyes were filled with surprise. Clearly, he had sensed that the soul seeds had entered his soul pond. Feather Wind. Lu Li controlled several dragons of Feather Wind to whooshing over. The Earth Immortal Realm warrior didn't have enough time to do anything. His soul was badly injured and he passed out again. Phew, Lu Li was relieved. The rest of the matter would fall into place. In the time for half an incense stick to burn, the last Earth Immortal Realm warrior was taken down. Lu Li didn't take any rash actions. He flew the Feather Wind away from the 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors and woke them up through spiritual connection. Go and kill the young master next to Jun Mingchen. Lu Li ordered one of the Earth Immortal Realm warriors. That Earth Immortal Realm warrior seemed to be in pain. Without any hesitation, he flew forward, took out a saber and hacked at the head of a young master of the Jun family. Boom! A young master of the Jun family was smashed to death. A quasi-relic armor fell off. The young master of the Jun family couldn't be more dead. Seeing how careful Lu Li was, Ling Wuxin sighed and said, Lu Li, this skill of yours is very powerful. As soon as you give the order, we will lose control of our bodies and become your puppet. I will become your puppet. So, you are thinking too much. Caution is the parent of safety. Lu Li grinned. He told Ling Wuxin to fly the lotus forward. The lotus was huge. They couldn't fly in the cave. But the tunnel dug out by the Jun family Earth Immortal Realm Warrior was large enough for them to fly. They flew to Junmengchen and the others. Once again, Lu Li released the soul seed and used the same trick to subdue the other three. Okay. An hour later, Lu Li smiled. He waved his hand and said, "Bring Junmengchen and the others out. Let them heal. One of you stay outside and the other one come with me to the bottom of the cave." The bottom of the cave? Ling Wuxin's eyes glowed with greed. The cave was so terrifying. There might be treasures at the bottom. Just because they were soul slaves didn't mean that they didn't have their own thoughts. It was just that Lu Li could control their souls at any time. When Lu Li was not controlling their souls, they were still themselves. It was just that they didn't want to kill Lu Li. In their souls were Lu Li's soul seed. Once they wanted to kill their master, the soul seed would take control of their souls and protect Lu Li. It was similar to Lu Ling's phoenix slaves. Yan Zhen and Hu Lang all had their own thoughts. They just could not disobey Lu Ling's orders. What is at the bottom of the cave? Chapter 735. Uncle 9 of the Jun family left with Junmengchen and the others. Naturally, Lu Li took the quasi-relic armor from the young master of the Jun family. Lu Li didn't feel too happy about another set of quasi-relic armor. If he could not survive this time, he wouldn't be able to get dozens of quasi-relic armor. In the end, he would only benefit the Ling family. Uncle 11 of the Jun family was allowed to tend to his wounds, and Lu Li told Ling Wuxin to do the same. 2 hours later, Lu Li took the lead and walked into the cave. The Jun family Earth Immortal Realm Warrior and Ling Wuxin followed him. Without Lu Li, they wouldn't be able to survive the attack of Feather Wind. Lu Li walked in front of them at ease. He waved his hands and the Feather Wind parted to the sides. The Feather Wind wouldn't come close to them. This way it was easier. Soon, they were close to the bodies of Ling Wuxuang and Ling Tianba. Ling Wuxin sighed when she saw their corpses, but she did not say anything. The winner was the king and the loser was the bandit. This was the reality. Lu Li was more skillful. She couldn't even commit suicide now that she had become Lu Li's sole slave. It was pointless to say too much. Right, Lu Li remembered something. He turned around and asked Ling Wuxin, "You really don't have the antidote for the Walking Dead poison?" Ling Wuxin nodded and said, "Yes, I don't. I need to make it again. But I have all kinds of mystical materials. I think I can make it in half a year." Half a year? Lu Li raised his eyebrows. He was not in a hurry. Ling Wuxin gave him 9 antidotes. Including the one she gave him before, he could live for 5 years. Finding the antidote was not urgent. The most important thing was that they would be teleported out in half a year. If they could not survive this, they would still die in half a year even if the antidote was cured now. Lu Li moved on in silence. He waved his hands, controlling the feather wind to blow to the sides. The feather wind here was horrifying. If he didn't control it, he wouldn't be able to survive it. The cave was deep. They walked for another 2 miles but they still hadn't reached the bottom. The stone path kept winding down. They should be 2 miles underground now. Lu Li was getting more and more excited. The deeper they went, the more dangerous it was. The feather wind here was horrifying. Danger was often proportional to benefit. There must be some valuable treasures down there. Door. The Jun family Earth Immortal Realm Warrior shouted in surprise. Lu Li and Ling Wuxin looked over. They could faintly see a door glowing. Go. Lu Li was getting more and more excited. He sped up and soon, he arrived at a gate. There were 2 air vents next to the gate where the feather wind came from. Ling Wuxin and the Jun family's Earth Immortal Realm warriors' eyes lit up. How could there be a gate at the bottom of the cave? This meant that there was an underground palace inside. In the forbidden land of Elder God, there was an underground palace thousands of feet below the ground. What did this mean? This meant that it was very likely that Emperor Heng's body was placed in the main hall. This meant that Emperor Heng's most important treasure, the divine weapon and divine armor, were all inside. This meant that the control center of the forbidden ground of ancient God might be here. Of course, Luli was excited, but he was calm. He glanced at the door to see if there was any danger. Victory and greed easily clouded one's mind. How could Emperor Heng's treasure be so easily obtained? Think from another perspective. If Luli were Emperor Heng, he would not allow his relic weapon and armor to be taken away so easily. If he wasn't exceptionally talented, didn't have outstanding intelligence, and didn't have a good temperament, he wouldn't have left it for him. Otherwise, Emperor Heng's reputation would be tarnished, and it would indirectly prove that Emperor Heng was an idiot. How could a man that could become an immortal be an idiot? Therefore, just because they were here didn't mean that they were absolutely safe or that they could obtain the treasure. Luli was very clear about this. Luli observed for a while and asked the Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warrior and Ling Wuxin to check carefully. Making sure that there was no danger, Luli said to the Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warrior, "Go and open the door." The Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warrior was worried. What if he was killed by the inhibition formation? But he dared not to disobey Luli's order. He carried a heavy sword, put on his quasi-relic armor, and walked toward the door in trepidation. The bloodline mark on his neck glowed. The door was pitch black with mysterious patterns of beasts carved on it. There was a faint green glow in the patterns, which was quite strange. The Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warrior stood outside the door. He pushed the door with his heavy sword. The door didn't budge. He made up his mind and pushed the door. The door didn't budge either. Luli signaled the Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warrior to mobilize Xian energy and smashed at the door. Boom! The door was glowing in a green light. It trembled a bit but still didn't open. Nor did it release any horrifying attack. There is a strong ancient inhibition formation on the door, Ling Wuxin reminded Luli. Pointing to the green glow on the door, she explained, "Those are the ancient inhibition formations. This door is hard to crack unless we can crack the ancient inhibition formation." Luli asked with a frown, "Which one of you knows about ancient inhibition formations?" Both Ling Wuxin and the Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warrior shook their heads. The Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warrior explained, "Ancient inhibition formations are difficult to crack. Only a few powerful warriors from different universes know about them. None of us." The Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warrior would not lie. Luli said nothing. He was not in a hurry. Staring at the green lines on the door, he frowned. Was he going to go back empty-handed? "Think of something," Luli ordered. The Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warrior tried to crack the door. Ling Wuxin walked over and tried. An hour later, both the Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warrior and Ling Wuxin gave up. They tried their best but to no avail. The Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warrior even tried his best, but the door was not damaged. Luli had some ideas after an hour of observation, but he was not in a hurry to verify them. Instead, he stood on the side and observed in silence. "Okay. You can leave now," Luli said, seeing that the two were going to break the door by force. When they were behind him, Luli waved his hands to gather the feather wind into 2 dragons of wind. He didn't fly the dragons of wind toward the door. Instead, he whooshed in through the 2 wind tunnels above the door. The 2 dragons of wind dashed into the wind tunnels. Still, there was no reaction from the door. Did I make a mistake? Luli blinked with doubt. As far as he could tell, The feather wind should be the key to open the door. The feather wind in the wind tunnels was strong. Earth Immortal Realm warriors could not come in unless they were at the semi-god realm. The thing was, the forbidden ground of Elder God was not accessible to semi-god realm warriors. Emperor Huang would not let an old monster in the soul transformation realm obtain his inheritance. This was human nature. Lu Li asked Ling Wuxin, "Can semi-god realm warriors enter the forbidden ground of Elder God?" "Not really." Ling Wuxin confirmed Lu Li's assumption. She added, "Not even many Earth Immortal Realm warriors can come in, or else there will be more featherwind. This has been proven. The more Earth Immortal Realm warriors there are, the stronger the featherwind will be. Therefore, each family can only send 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors in. This is a consensus reached by all the families." Then it should be true. Lu Li could not figure it out. If not even Earth Immortal Realm warriors could come in, then nobody could. Only those who could control the featherwind could stand a chance. Then, the key to opening the door should be the featherwind. Let me try another way. Lu Li thought for the time for 2 incense sticks to burn. He formed a dragon of wind with the feather wind and went to the door. The dragon of wind followed the green lines on the door and hovered around. After the dragon of wind hovered for a while, the dark door suddenly gave out a green glare and opened slowly. What? Chapter 736. The door opened quietly. It was pitch black inside. Nothing could be seen. It was like the mouth of a huge beast. Anyone who entered would be devoured. Lu Li was excited, but he didn't show it. He forced himself to calm down. There must be more than meets the eye inside. He winked at the June family Earth Immortal Realm warrior and said, "You lead the way." The June family Earth Immortal Realm warrior put on a long face and walked toward the door. Lu Li and Ling Wuxin followed him closely. Their quasi-relic armors emerged. Buzzing. The 3 of them went in one after another. Lu Li saw a white glare, and then he found himself in a small hall. The 3 of them didn't move at all, fearing that they might trigger the inhibition formation. They looked around and soon fixed their eyes on a table right in front of them. The small hall was empty. There was only a table, a large door, and a teleportation array. The door was more magnificent than the one outside. It might be a passageway to the main hall. The teleportation formation was more likely to send them out of the small hall. There was a faint white glare on the wall, lighting up the entire hall. The reason why they were paying attention to the table was that there was a black wooden box on it. Needless to say, there must be treasures inside if there was a wooden box in a place like this. Lu Li didn't move. He looked around. To his surprise, there was no feather wind or inhibition formation. He winked at the June family Earth Immortal Realm warrior. The latter began to walk toward the table step by step. Ling Wuxin had to stand still without Lu Li's order. 1 step, 2 steps, 10 steps. The journey was safe. The June family Earth Immortal Realm warrior arrived at the table easily. He looked at Lu Li. Lu Li nodded. The June family Earth Immortal Realm warrior reached the black jade box. Swish, swish, when the June family Earth Immortal Realm warrior touched the jade box, the ceiling of the small hall suddenly lit up. Thunderbolts gathered. A surge of horrifying chi and energy enveloped the entire small hall. A black thunderbolt struck down. Even though the June family Earth Immortal Realm warrior stepped back at once, the thunderbolt still hit him accurately. The June family Earth Immortal Realm warrior was in a miserable state. His body was burning with black smoke. He rolled around on the ground and kept howling. Soon, he couldn't even scream as he was burned alive by the raging flames. Lu Li and Ling Wuxin didn't move. They watched as the June family Earth Immortal Realm warrior died. They watched as his quasi-relic armor fell off and he became a charred corpse. Both looked terrible. Lu Li was taken aback. Luckily, he had sent the June family Earth Immortal Realm warrior to explore the way first. Otherwise, he would be the one dead now. Ling Wuxin was afraid that it would be Lu Li who told her to open the wooden box. If that happened, she would end up as a dead body as well. The atmosphere in the small hall was particularly oppressive, and there was a smell of burnt meat. Lu Li said nothing. He looked at the wooden box and thought about it over and over. Without a doubt, there must be a treasure in this wooden box. Otherwise, there wouldn't be such a terrifying restriction. The restriction was set up by Emperor Heng to prevent others from obtaining the treasures so easily. This restriction could easily kill an Earth immortal, so the treasure inside was definitely not an ordinary quasi-relic. Even if it wasn't one of Emperor Heng's 2 divine artifacts, it was definitely a heaven-defying treasure. The problem was how to get it? Lu Li's eyes flickered. He put away the June family Earth Immortal Realm Warrior's quasi-relic and interspatial ring. He walked around the small hall carefully, looking around. It was a pity that there was no feather wind here. If there was, he could use dragons of wind to explore the way. Lu Li walked through all the areas in the small hall with great care. Apart from the table, the other areas were safe. What disappointed him was, he didn't find any clues. The other areas in the small hall were safe. Ling Wuxin had been looking around as well, but she didn't find any clues. Lu Li and Ling Wuxin looked at each other. Both felt helpless. If they didn't open the jade box, they could not take out the treasure inside. What if thunderbolts struck them when they opened the jade box? Not only did Lu Li not dare to touch the jade box himself, but he also didn't want Ling Wuxin to do it. If Ling Wuxin died, nobody would make the antidote for him. He saw the treasure, but he didn't have the courage to take it. Lu Li was frustrated. He walked to the table and stared at the wooden box, trying to find some secrets from it. The wooden box was old. It was also carved with mysterious patterns of beasts. There was a faint glow in the patterns, and some mysterious runes were looming on the wooden box. Is this wooden box a quasi-relic? Lu Li was not sure. He stared at the wooden box for a long time but found no secrets. He was in a dilemma. He couldn't decide whether to give up or take it. He could either find a way to enter the inner hall, take the teleportation formation and leave, or risk his life to get the treasure. Enter the inner hall? Lu Li didn't even consider it. This small hall was so dangerous. Even if he could enter the inner hall, would he have the courage to take the relic weapons and armors? If he left now, he might be teleported out. His life would be saved, but this trip would be in vain. Lu Li stared at the wooden box with a frown. He began to put himself in Emperor Heng's shoes. If he were in Emperor Heng's shoes, what was the meaning of this inhibition formation? Was it to give people hope and then despair? Was there a treasure but no one could get it? Emperor Heng wouldn't be so senseless. Clearly, the treasure was here for the destined one. Ling Wuxin stood next to Lu Li nervously, waiting for his decision. The time for 1 incense stick to burn, 2, 3. All of a sudden, Ling Wuxin's eyes were filled with terror, because Lu Li closed his eyes and slowly reached out his hand towards the wooden box. Ling Wuxin trembled. If Lu Li died, she might die with him. When Lu Li died, the soul seed would go berserk. By then, her soul might collapse, however. She could not disobey Lu Li's order. She stared at Lu Li's hand that was reaching toward the wooden box. 3 feet, 3.5 feet. Lu Li's hand stopped in front of the wooden box. Ling Wuxin's heart was hanging in the air. Lu Li seemed to be in a dilemma. He was struggling inside. He paused for the time for 10 breaths. Lu Li made up his mind. He reached his hand forward and put it on the wooden box. Ling Wuxin couldn't bear to watch. She closed her eyes in fear and opened her mouth, waiting for the thunderbolts to strike down. Swish, swish, the inhibition formation glowed. A surge of horrifying qi and energy spread out. At that moment, both Lu Li and Ling Wuxin had lost all hope. Lu Li didn't even step back. The June family Earth Immortal Realm Warrior was killed. It was proof that he would die no matter where he went. He had lost the gamble. Losing this kind of gamble meant death. Swish, swish. A huge thunderbolt whooshed down directly toward Luli. The dazzling white glare enveloped Luli. Even Ling Wuxin, who had her eyes closed, felt she had lost her sight. The thunderbolt dissipated after it came down. Ling Wuxin waited for the time for 3 breaths, but she heard no scream from Luli. She opened her eyes in surprise, only to find that Luli had disappeared. He had vanished into thin air. Has he been blasted into ashes? Ling Wuxin blinked. Soon, she came to her senses and shouted, "No, Luli is not dead. Luli had a quasi-relic. Even if he was killed, the quasi-relic would come off automatically." What was more, Ling Wuxin felt the spiritual connection with Luli was still there, which meant that Luli was still alive. He made the right bet. Ling Wuxin was both envious and jealous. As a matter of fact, she had been wondering, the second person to touch the wooden box might not die. It was possible that Emperor Heng was testing the courage of the newcomer. After all, a warrior who was afraid of death would not achieve much. Where is Luli being teleported to? What will he get? Chapter 737. Luli was in a small hall, one that was exactly the same as the one he was in before. This small hall also had a desk, a door, and a teleportation array. The only difference was that there was a scroll beside the wooden box on the table. It was quietly placed on the table, and Luli could see it at a glance. Hoo-hoo! After seeing the scroll, Luli let out a long sigh of relief. He knew that he had made the right bet. All of his guesses were correct. Naturally, Emperor Heng's treasures should be given to the destined ones. Otherwise, Luli and the others would not have been able to enter that small hall. Since Emperor Heng had given Luli hope, he would not let Luli lose all hope. Emperor Heng was not a senseless man. Therefore, Luli chose to continue to touch the black wooden box. According to common sense, after the first person was killed, the second person would definitely not dare to touch it. This required a lot of courage, and it was a gamble with one's life. Emperor Heng probably wanted people who were not afraid of death. If a martial artist was even afraid of death, then this martial artist would definitely not be able to go far. The path of the martial Tao was to defy the heavens and change one's fate. Along the way, one would encounter the dangers of death many times. As long as he retreated even once, he might never be able to reach the peak in his life. Emperor Heng, who was able to become a god, must have encountered countless life and death situations in his life. He definitely did not like people who were afraid to move forward. Luli took a few deep breaths to calm himself down. He carefully walked to the desk and looked at the scroll. There were words on the scroll, written in the ancient language. There weren't many words, only dozens of them. Luli was overjoyed after reading them. Wicked bead. That was the first 3 words on the scroll. Clearly, it was an introduction to the treasure in the box. The latter part did introduce the origin and usage of the wicked bead, as well as some instructions. According to the characters, the wicked bead was a piece of treasure Emperor Heng obtained in the divinity. The bead had many magical uses, but Emperor Heng had sealed 6 layers of it. One needed to reach a certain level of strength to gradually open the seals. After opening the seal, he would be able to know the specific uses of this bead. A divine artifact. Luli's breaths were short. It was not stated on the scroll that it was a relic, but it was something obtained from the divinity. It was highly possible that it was a relic. Emperor Heng had placed 6 seals on the bead, which meant that the bead was very heaven-defying. He was afraid that the person who obtained it would not be able to control it, so he sealed some of its uses. Of course, Emperor Heng might have some other concerns, but no matter what, this bead was definitely a heaven-defying treasure. Otherwise, Emperor Heng wouldn't have gone to the extent of sealing 6 layers. This time, Luli had no more concerns. He reached out and grabbed the wooden box. He easily opened the wooden box. His gaze swept across and locked onto a green bead the size of a pigeon egg. This was a very ordinary bead. There were no colors on it, no mysterious runes, and no aura flowing around it. It felt like a small green round stone. Wicked bead. The name was similar to that of the wicked lord he met in the prison of gold. Luli took over the bead and observed it carefully. He was sure that there was nothing special about this bead. Even if he threw it outside, no one would pick it up. Refine. Luli didn't think about Ling Wuxin. He didn't think about going out or entering the inner hall. He sat on the spot with his legs crossed, surrounded the bead with Xian energy, and began to dissolve the wicked bead. Buzz! The wicked bead glowed in a feeble white light. Luli felt refreshed. The wicked bead seemed to be easy to take control of. Just like with quasi-relics, he only needed to pour Xian energy in and the bead would be completely dissolved when it glowed. Luli focused on the process. Nothing was more important than the bead. If the bead was a relic, then all his problems would be solved. Even if he could leave the Ling dynasty, he wouldn't have to be afraid with a relic in his hand. His original plan was to capture many young masters and young ladies to threaten the families to attack the Ling dynasty. But now, he had to worry about the wicked bead first. 2 hours, 4 hours, 10 hours. After 10 hours, Luli opened his eyes, feeling a headache. He could feel that the bead was being dissolved. But the process seemed to be slow, so slow that he wanted to vomit blood. Now that he poured Xian energy in, the bead was glowing a bit brighter than before. But it was only a bit. He had spent 10 hours and only a little bit was gone? Maybe my realm is too low, and the relic is harder to take control of. Luli comforted himself. He told Ling Wuxin and the Jun family Earth Immortal Realm warriors outside the Wind Cave to wait for further instructions. Then, he took some soul-nurturing pellets and began to cultivate Xian energy while taking control of the bead. At the same time, he studied the soul-shattering skill. Once he started cultivating, Luli found that the Xian Qi in the small hall was much richer than that in the Wind Cave. Cultivating here was faster than using any treasured materials. This is the outer hall. What about the main hall? How fast will the cultivation be? Luli was intrigued. Soon, he shook his head. A man who was never content was like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. His realm was too low. He could not enter the main hall. Even if he could not get the relic weapon and armor. Would Emperor Huang let a noble Lord Realm warrior have the relic weapon and armor? Even if he did, it would be taken away soon. Emperor Huang would not allow his relic to be fought over. Luli hadn't taken control of the wicked bead yet. He was not ambitious enough. He focused on cultivating and taking control of the wicked bead. 1 day, 5 days, 10 days. The wicked bead was glowing, which meant that the wicked bead was being taken control bit by bit. That being said, the speed was slow. Luli had been working for 10 days and he felt that he had only consumed less than 1/20th of the wicked bead. In other words, it would take Luli 200 days to completely take control of the wicked bead. 200 days would be more than 6 months. By then, he would have been teleported out. Luli frowned. He increased the output of Xian energy to speed up the process. After all, cultivating Xian energy here was too fast. He had been cultivating in the forbidden ground of Elder God for a while, and he was about to reach the middle stage of the Noble Lord Realm. At the Noble Lord Realm, there was no need to build another fate wheel or bead of life. The bead of life only needed to be refined. Every time a warrior at the Noble Lord Realm cultivated, the bead of life would be smaller. The smaller the bead of life was, the higher the realm. At the peak of the Noble Lord Realm, the bead of life would be smaller than it was at the initial stage. But the bead of life would be more solid and indestructible. Also, the warrior would be more in tune with heaven and earth. It would be easier for the warrior to learn profound meanings through the bead of life. Luli didn't have the time to reach the middle stage of the Noble Lord Realm. he planned to continue his cultivation and take control of the wicked bead. In a month, the bead of life would be more compact. By then, he could try to reach the middle stage of the Noble Lord realm. It only took Luli 5 days to take control of the quasi-relic. 6 layers of the bead were sealed. Now, it would take him several months? Luli would never believe that this was not some kind of treasure. What would be the use of the bead after he took control of it? Luli was looking forward to it. A relic. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.